Let's get this going. Y'all know exactly what we're doing here. Some 2021 real money fantasy football drafts. These aren't mock drafts. These are real money leagues like we do every single night. For whatever reason, if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And more importantly, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, because I'm sure that we're about to get a ton of people out here in the live chat right now for this first draft. We're going to send out the first link to this first draft out there on Patreon, but I'm going to be excited. Thank you all for coming out. Let me send out that link on Patreon so we can get this going. It's going to be a good night. It's going to be a good night of drafts. We'll talk some draft strategy. We'll go through, talk about some players we like. We sent that link out on Patreon. Let me send out a notification on Discord to let people know that we are drafting, and then we can switch over, share our screen so y'all can see how fast this gets filled up. It's a Friday night, so I bet that if you're wanting out in a draft, tonight's probably going to be an easier chance to get out than in a regular live stream. So yeah, I sent that out, and yeah, you're going to see that this fills relatively quickly. This first draft, like we always do, is going to be a $10 league. And then after this, depending on how many people come out, maybe we'll get either a $50 or a $250 draft going. We'll get something in that range. And yeah, okay, so we actually look like we are going to have the 111. Okay, so the 111, I drafted, I believe, at the 111 once today. And I think the other pick that we got a little later on was about the one. Actually, we got the 111 and the 112, because I remember the 112, we did something a little unique to diversify our teams. But here we got Girthquake coming out. He gets the 109 in this draft. So this is Noah. If y'all don't know who Noah is, he made the signs, both signs in the studio. And I mean, he has almost exclusively gotten the 111 and the 112 up until this point, and wanted Alex Alejandro out here, a long time member of the flock as well. JN, everybody knows who JN is. So guys, like I said, I mean, this is the first draft that we are going to do. So the first draft that we do is always sent out there on Patreon. So you're going to see just a bunch of regulars, and then we'll get some new people coming in the live drafts after this one when we send those out in the YouTube live chat. But before we get into anything, y'all know I have to inform everybody that this draft is being hosted on Underdog Fantasy. This is my favorite place to draft in 2021. I mean, we draft here every single night. And what's great about Underdog Fantasy is if you make a $10 deposit for you to go out and get some real money fantasy football drafts, you can do however many you want, because the time commitment is literally nothing after you make your first draft. And I will say, when you make that $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK, you're actually going to get $25 added to your account. At the same time, you are going to get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, hundreds of pages of information. And we've had people reaching out to me as of late going, Mason, did you really write those draft guides completely on your own? Yes, I wrote them on my own. Nobody helped me write those, guys. I wrote them all on my own. I know it's a lot of information, but we worked a very long time on that. And you're also getting our 2021 rankings and tiers, all with just a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, given the fact that, I mean, this is the perfect partnership. And also, when we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, then they're going to fly people to Tampa, Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. We're going to have a 24-hour live stream. We're also going to have a Florida Flock meetup. So once we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK and all that gets set into motion, then you're going to hear me talk about this a whole lot less. So if you just want to hear me talk about this less, make sure you make that deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. And going in and talking about these first round selections, guys, Kamara can no longer fall to the 105. I know that maybe I'm overreacting here a little bit just because we finally get some news, but I think seeing Kamara go at the 105 is too late for my liking, given the fact that we actually do have a Jameis Winston coming out. Jameis Winston is announced as the starter for the New Orleans Saints. I don't necessarily know if we can wait that long on getting an Alvin Kamara. So now that when we are going to be on the clock at the 111, we're going to go with an Aaron Jones here. Going to be an easy pick. And there's one other player that I'm really hoping falls back to us at the 202. I'd imagine that most people know who that is. So Eckler goes to the 112. So yeah, we're going to get our guy that we want at the 202. I am almost certain. So let's see where Wanted Alex goes with this next pick. So Calvin Ridley. Yeah, so we're going to start this draft off with both Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor. In my opinion, both of these running backs should be first round selections. So now we're going to be able to start this draft off a running back, and then slam receivers in rounds 3, 4, and once we get to the 5-6 turn, there's going to be a little bit different because we'll be stuck in no man's land. But this is something that I've been advising a lot of people to do if they're actually playing in a league where you can only start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Is I think the ideal start in a format like that, which is not this format, however, is actually going to be running back at the beginning and then getting your receivers in the middle rounds. So yeah, Jones, Jonathan Taylor, really going to like that combination. And going back to Underdog Fantasy, guys, when you use promo code FLOCK, make sure you are going through the link that's going to be in the description of the video. Make sure you're going through a link that will be in the comments, in the live chat, literally wherever I send out that link. Make sure that's the one that you're going for. That way you do get that account hooked up to promo code FLOCK, and you can get that draft guide and you can get those rankings. Okay, so Suzuki coming out in the chat says, "Hola, my man. How's your day?" Very good. Had some nice dinner. I mean, a great night. And I cannot tell y'all how excited I am to go through and look at some of these drafts. I mean, the games, obviously not that exciting given the fact that we have real games next week. We're not going to see any action that really matters too much tonight. But if we pull up to see just what has happened, I'll be completely honest, I haven't paid attention whatsoever to what has happened in the games tonight because we don't really have any of the starters playing. I mean, we go through, we're just box score scouting here. I mean, it does look like Michael Carter got some snaps. Michael Carter got some plays that we can go through and we can actually look at after this live stream. Let me see if there are any other games that we need to be going out and checking out after the live stream to see how players looked while they're on the field. I mean, the Colts would be intriguing to see what Jacob Eason looked like. Outside of that, not necessarily looking like they had anybody on the field. Then Jamar Jefferson for the Lions, not too interested. Yeah, so the games tonight, I mean, did not do much for us. Not really bothering about watching them whatsoever, as we definitely were excited about the games last week and the games before that. I mean, I am ready for real football. I am ready for real football. I will say that. Now, Nick Chubb falling to the 208. And I know we have said this every single live stream over the past like 3 nights, but Nick Chubb falling to the mid to late second round. This is the kind of Nick Chubb value that we're talking about. I mean, when he was going in the first, I was screaming that Nick Chubb was one of the most overdrafted players in fantasy football. But now that he is falling to not only the second round, but honestly, this is later than we have him ranked. I have Nick Chubb ranked higher than this. I mean, if you can draft Nick Chubb at like the 206, the 207, I honestly really like that pick of a Nick Chubb. And I'm someone that's been hardcore advocating for you to fade Nick Chubb all offseason, but that's when he was going up here. That's when he was going ahead of Eckler, when he was going ahead of Aaron Jones, when he was going ahead of Jonathan Taylor. I mean, in that range, I can't consider him, but if he's all of a sudden falling down here to the 208, I think Nick Chubb's going to be a great pick. I also really like Mixon at the 210. Like I said, Devontae Adams, actually, I did have him ranked above Alvin Kamara before the announcement that Jameis Winston was starting, but now that I think we have Winston at least starting for the beginning of the season, of course, we don't know if we get Jameis Winston for all 17 games, but at least we know that Jameis Winston is getting a shot at the starting job at the very beginning of the season. I think we do have to move Alvin Kamara ahead of Devontae Adams. They were neck and neck for me. So we're going to have Kamara at 3 now and Devontae Adams at 4. So don't be surprised whatsoever if you see me going with an Alvin Kamara at 3. And also, guys, I see someone in the chat asking, are we going to do a $250 draft tonight? We're going to try to get a $250 draft tonight. Just make sure y'all are going down there, dropping a like on the live stream. That way we can get recommended to some new people on the YouTube recommended page. So we can get enough people in here. We can get a $250 draft going tonight, because we tried to do it last night, but it didn't fill. But I would love for us to be able to get one going tonight. Well, at least do a $50 draft. But if we could do a $250, that would be fantastic. Okay. So obviously when we start running back with Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor, given this format where we actually have to start 3 receivers at the minimum, we are definitely hoping that we get some receivers that we like falling to us at the 3-4 turn. And what's great is 100% of the time you're getting receivers in this range that you like falling to you. I mean, yes, Dobbins at the 307. Honestly, I was a little worried that we were going to have to look at possibly drafting him at the 311. But one other adjustment that we're going to have to make to our rankings, and keep in mind, if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, if you're on Patreon, you're always going to have those updated rankings. So I think we're possibly going to have to move J.K. Dobbins over DeAndre Swift, just given the slight injury concerns that you may have with a DeAndre Swift. So let's switch this back over. Now we are going to be going most likely back-to-back receiver here. And I'm sure that a lot of people know exactly who we're going to go at the 311. I can't say too much just because I don't want to get sniped at the 402. Okay, so we do have Cooper Kupp going at the 310. I know this is going to look like a reach according to ADP. I don't care. My guy is going to be the player that projects to see more volume, someone that's a little younger. And I think that a lot of people are discounting his last season because he was suffering with injuries. So we're going to go with a Chris Godwin here at the 311. Let's see what Wanted Alex does with these back-to-back picks, where he actually went with an Austin Eckler and a Calvin Ridley in the first and the second round. So he does have some flexibility. Maybe he wants to grab a running back here. Maybe he just wants to go double receivers. Even he could get a Mahomes. We have no idea. So he goes DJ Moore at the 312 and DeAndre Swift at the 401. So at this point, while I don't necessarily love taking Mike Evans, I mean, I think in this range, we are going to be fine drafting Mike Evans. And I will say that in most drafts, I'm never considering him because we have Chris Godwin ranked higher and Mike Evans is considerably higher than Chris Godwin in ADP. We also have Cooper Kupp ranked higher. And in most drafts, you're going to see Mike Evans go before both of these receivers. But if he's going to fall to us here when we're desperate for number 2 receiver at the 402, I think we're going to have to take Mike Evans over Julio Jones. Okay. So let me know what y'all think of this start so far. I honestly really like this start. I know a lot of people prefer us to go with a running backs early because it projects a lot nicer, and obviously the path for upside's a lot more clear rather than not necessarily taking the volatility that comes with the season. But here, Noah comes out strong with the start. So he goes receiver early with Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins. He gets an insane value on George Kittle at the 309, and I'm assuming he's only having to take one more tight end in the rest of the draft. So I'm going to be very interested to go through and track Noah's team here. So you have CDJ actually going through and stacking Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill in the first and fourth round. I'll say Mahomes at the 405. Well, yes, I think it's good value. I just personally don't like how my teams look after we take Mahomes in this range. I actually like how my teams look a lot more if we can wait until at least the 5th round to get our quarterback coming in, because we know that this tier of receivers, I mean, I love getting a Julio Jones. I love getting a T. Higgins. So while Mahomes, yes, looks like a great value, and I know a lot of people want to say that Mahomes is most likely the correct selection there, and I'll say considering you take a Tyreek Hill, I'm completely fine with it. I just think you have to be a really good drafter to find that receiver value later on when you pass up on this tier, because we know by the time we get to the 5th round, this is going to be no man's land. It's going to be very hard to know where you're drafting at the end of the 5th. I mean, even the middle of the 5th. We've said this every live stream over the past 3 nights, but there's no bad pick to be had in the 5th round. And now Jerry Jeudy goes at the 410. Dear Lord, I mean, I cannot consider taking Jerry Jeudy here. Jerry Jeudy was like the wide receiver 59 on a points per game basis last year. Let me pull this up. I think I actually recently made a video on this, so I can just pull this up really quickly. Yeah, so Jerry Jeudy last season was the wide receiver. Sorry, let's pull this up. 59. Yeah, we are correct about that. He was the wide receiver 59. And I understand, yes, he's going into year 2. He was a rookie last year. You should expect natural progression. But at the same time, Courtland Sutton's going to be in this offense. He's going to be taking away targets. You're going to have KJ Hamler as well stepping in. KJ Hamler, I mean, we know he's going into year 2. He was the youngest receiver in the draft last year. I think Hamler is going to be an every down player. You have Noah Fant, a very good receiving tight end. So I personally can't take Jerry Jeudy at the 410. I think there are some other players I prefer. I honestly probably prefer a Miles Sanders over a Jerry Jeudy, but it looks like maybe you're getting both guys. I honestly would rather go with an Adam Thielen over Jerry Jeudy as well. Okay, so Party Till She Saw coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, Mahomes and Hill locked in mid-season form. Sup, flock. My man, let me know what you think about going with the Hill and Mahomes, because obviously it's a stack with a ton of value. Just personally, I haven't necessarily had success in my own builds where we have taken a Mahomes in the 4th round. Possibly it's with me not necessarily understanding that structure and having to just wait until the last round to take your last quarterback and hammering in some extra receivers. Maybe I'm not doing it correctly, but I think it's very hard to fit a Mahomes into this build when you're passing up on those receivers. But James Robinson falling all the way to the 504. My God, y'all know I don't want to say a James Robinson hater before the Travis Etienne injury, but I was 100% calling Travis Etienne the running back 1. I was loving the Travis Etienne value that we were getting at the beginning of the 5th round, and I was saying that James Robinson was nowhere close to being the running back 1 in Jacksonville. But now getting James Robinson at the 504, that is fantastic. I have James Robinson in the same tier as a J.K. Dobbins and a DeAndre Swift. Getting him about a round and a half later, that is incredible value on a James Robinson. That is incredible. Okay, so now we are going to be pulling back up our selections at the end of the 5th, the beginning of the 6th round. And here, there are a couple different routes that we can go. So I think that when we double tap a receiver with a Chris Godwin and a Mike Evans, we have some more flexibility on what we could do if we decided that we did want to end up going with the tight end, or we possibly wanted to get an elite level quarterback. So I think that we're probably going to try to pull something off that I know a lot of people who are regulars after this live stream know that we're going to try to do. I'm going to keep my lips shut until we are up on the clock at the 6:02, just because we got some picks between us. Now, Javonte Williams goes. We don't need to be reaching on a running back here when we have Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor. So here we're going to take a Lamar Jackson, someone I've been trying to get in more drafts. We're going to take him at the 5'11" in a 4-point passing touchdown league, given the fact that we saw the elite level ceiling that he had back in 2019, and they add just a ton of passing game weapons to this overall offense. I actually have Lamar Jackson ranked as my quarterback 2 for a 4-point passing touchdown format. Now, if you're playing in a 6-point passing touchdown format, there I think you actually want to go with the Josh Allen. There I think you want to go with Kyler Murray. But Lamar Jackson, I would need to get more in my life. And let's see where Wanted Alex decides to go. So he goes Laviska Shenault at the 5'12". So Shenault, honestly, probably was not going to be considering him here, although y'all know I do love Laviska. There's one player that I have a pinpoint laser focus in on right now. I know 99% of people in the live chat probably know exactly who this is. Okay. So Nick coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Said, hey, bud, what do you think about this trade? PPR Dynasty Superflex, 12-man league, start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 2 flexes. Kyler Murray goes. So let me cut you off real quick, and let's get Mark Andrews coming in to get that stack with a Lamar Jackson and a Mark Andrews. Love building in that stack. This was a stack that you actually had to take at the 2-3 turn last year in high-stakes leagues. So now that we're getting a Lamar Jackson and a Mark Andrews at the 5-6 turn, this is literally best case scenario at the 5-6 turn. It's hard to pull off. Obviously, it's kind of the plan A when you go into the 5-6 turn in every draft, is if you can come away with Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, you are ecstatic. But I'm just happy to see we get it done. Well, but going back to Nick's question, so he says Kamara and Keenan Allen or Nick Chubb and DJ Moore. You got the Kamara side. Yeah, here it's easily going to be Alvin Kamara and Keenan Allen for me. So DJ Moore is really the only long-term value piece that I think you're building around there. I think all the other players are win now 2021 assets with the projection that they should have this upcoming season. But yeah, I think that you're just going to get so much more production from both the Kamara and Keenan Allen. So I definitely agree with you going that way, especially if you're a contending roster. But now, guys, if you have yet to go down there and drop a like on the live stream, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, drop that like, and help us get to an insane amount of live viewers. That way we can get a $250 draft going after this. I really want to get a $250 draft going. I mean, it's stressful. It is, I mean, my adrenaline is like pumping when we get that $250 draft going. I would love to get one of those going tonight. And now we have a little bit of a running back run going with Darrell Henderson, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, and Trey Sermon. Now, y'all know Darrell Henderson was a running back that I was screaming to avoid in the 4th round. I wasn't drafting him at all based on the knowledge that we knew that someone was going to be coming into this situation, given the limited team investment that this team actually had into the running back room. And if you looked historically with what Sean McVay and this entire front office ended up doing by trading picks over and over and over again for veteran players, it made a lot of sense that they were going to trade for a veteran running back. So I haven't liked Darrell Henderson in the 4th. But if you're actually going to end up taking him here in the 6th round in the same tier of a Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, Trey Sermon, I'm completely fine with Darrell Henderson going in this range. Okay, so Fallon says, Mason, I think Carlos Hyde will have more carries than we think. My man, I'm here saying that I think Carlos Hyde is going to get work. I definitely think Carlos Hyde is going to get work, and that's why I think that in one of the last rounds of your fantasy draft, I mean, if you're playing in a deeper league like how we're about to play in an 18-man draft, I mean, I'm drafting Carlos Hyde. I'm going out there and I am picking him up because I think he is going to have some very bad touches. Like, they're not going to be valuable, but I think he should have the raw workload exactly like you're talking about. Okay. So now we have Chase Edmonds at the 701, Mike Davis at the 611. I do like both of those running backs going back to back. I mean, y'all know I've kind of hammered in the point that Mike Davis, when he was going in the 5th round, I thought was drastically overrated based on the fact that a lot of people were willing to bet on a 28-year-old running back that I don't think anybody wants to make the argument for is that talented. More so, people were just saying this is someone that projects to see the volume, and we know if we're betting on someone that just projects to see volume at the running back position with not that much talent, I mean, historically, it's not going to be a great bet. But it looks like we have a massive running back run going. So you have Henderson, Hunt, Gaskin, Sermon, Mike Davis, Chase Edmonds, and Damian Harris. You have about 7 running backs going off in 11 picks. So yeah, we got a running back run going. I'd imagine that Damian Harris was actually about the last guy in that tier. If you look at ADP going off the top of my head, I'd imagine that right now Raheem Mostert's actually the most I want to say the highest valued running back, and obviously that is disgusting. So I doubt we actually see another running back going off anytime soon. I'd imagine that we're going to be in store for a pretty big receiver run. And what's crazy is just a few months ago, Courtland Sutton was being drafted ahead of Jerry Jeudy. That is ridiculous to think about. Now all of a sudden, Jerry Jeudy going, I mean, what is that? 30 picks before Courtland Sutton, 31 picks before Sutton. I mean, this is just a completely different scenario than what we saw at the beginning of the offseason. Okay. Party Till She Saw says, damn, dude, I'm going to get in on the literal last $250 draft you do. I would hope to get a couple of these $250 drafts going just because I'm literally viewing it as almost free money if Underdog's going to have to do an overlay if that contest doesn't fill. So I'm trying to get a decent amount going, but the thing is I want to get them going with the subscribers of this channel. I can't afford to just be doing $250 drafts if they're not going to be on the live stream. I mean, I definitely need them to be on the live stream because obviously it's way more entertainment value and I can kind of justify it for myself that way. But here we're going to go with a Mike Williams, more so as a receiver that can just randomly pop off. We have very rarely drafted Mike Williams in drafts so far. We have more so stuck with the Will Fuller in this range. I'd be very happy to take Will Fuller if he does fall to us at the 802. But this is kind of the luxury that we get when we start going Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor. And what's also great is we're going to afford to be able to have 6 running backs and 8 receivers on this roster when we go with the Lamar and when we go with the Mark Andrews, because we're only going to need one more QB and one more tight end to go after this. So let's see where Wanted Alex goes. So far at running back, he has Eckler and Swift. He has Kyler Murray at quarterback. He goes Will Fuller at the 801. So I think we're still going to stick it with the receiver position. And out of these 3 guys that are best available, I mean, I'm not that interested in a Darnell Mooney. I actually really think that Darnell Mooney is being overdrafted in this range, and I'm trying to avoid him where I can. Now, Jarvis Landry, he is someone that with a slightly higher floor than what you actually have with a Brandon Cooks. Obviously, Brandon Cooks has suffered through some serious concussions in his NFL career so far. But there's nobody, and I repeat, nobody to get the ball to in Houston outside of Brandon Cooks. And I actually just think that Brandon Cooks is a pretty talented receiver. So just like we were expecting, yes, you have this wide receiver run going. I mean, after you see this tier running back like a Damian Harris, the last guy off the board, like I said, the highest player after that is going to be a Raheem Mostert. Nobody's wanted to touch Raheem Mostert. So you're going to have a ton of receivers getting drafted. I believe this is 12 picks in a row that are at the receiver position. So that is wild. I honestly think it's exactly what needs to happen in this range. I'm not necessarily thinking that any of the running backs are interesting picks at all here. So yeah, A.J. Dillon does go at the 804 to end the running back drought. I mean, finally, we get another running back going. Fallon says, I also think Raheem Mostert's being slept on just a tad bit. Guys, my problem with Raheem Mostert is this is an injury-prone player, and I'm very reluctant to say that about anybody. I mean, y'all know that I am the last person to call someone injury-prone. But I think when we have the long history of Raheem Mostert dealing with injuries as we have, and at the same time, he's a 29-year-old running back, you know you don't want to be betting on 29-year-old running backs. I don't even want to be betting on a 27-year-old running back. I mean, you can just see that fact that he's injury-prone, he's 29 years old, and that his team traded up in the NFL draft to get a younger, better player, a younger, better version of him in the NFL draft and to Trey Sermon. And then you understand that, I mean, with the Raheem Mostert, literally this is a running back that has had one game with over 20 carries in his entire NFL career. I have no interest in Raheem Mostert. I mean, this is someone that I think is more so being drafted based on what he did in the NFL playoffs back in 2019. I think a lot of people remember those spike games. I think a lot of people have that vividness bias where they shouldn't. I don't think you can necessarily be drafting him there. I'm going to be drafting Raheem Mostert a lot lower than consensus. I would much prefer just paying up a little earlier on to get a Trey Sermon. Now, Aaron Rodgers does fall all the way to the 8-10, and he falls to the same team that took Devontae Adams. Let me go through and show the top of the draft board for anybody who's just now coming into this live stream. And if you're just now coming into this live stream, make sure you're going down there and dropping a like. I really want to get this live stream popping tonight. It's a Friday night. Let's get a $250 draft going. We have real life NFL games, real life fantasy points getting scored in just a week. So far in this draft, we've gone Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor at the 1-2 turn. Then we went with a double Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers. Y'all know I just moved to Tampa, so honestly, probably going to be rooting for the Bucs this season with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Then we got the Baltimore stack at the turn here. I mean, I love how this team has turned out. We got Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. Then Mike Williams, Brandon Cooks at receiver, just looking for some depth. And now with our next few picks, honestly, this is about the range where we're probably going to look to go back to the running back. Well, I mean, guys that we're going to be looking at in this range at the 9-10 turn, most likely are going to include someone like a Zach Moss. Now Ronald Jones goes. Ronald Jones sometimes does make it to the end of the 9th, the beginning of the 10th. He is no longer going to be a part of the player pool. So instead, maybe we're just looking at receiver. I don't necessarily know. Maybe we just look at receiver here if we're not going to have access to one of those running backs. Nathan says 2 weeks till the season starts. I'm pretty sure the season starts. Let me look this up. Doesn't the season start in like 11 days? Pretty sure it starts in like 11 days. Rockout says trying to flip Austin Eckler for Chris Carson and AJ Brown. Thoughts? And my running back 2 is Antonio Gibson. And on top of it, wide receivers are Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, T. Higgins, and Deebo Samuel. Okay, so you're trying to flip Eckler for Carson and AJ Brown. Okay, so here, honestly, I think that in a format where you're only starting 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end, you're not necessarily needing another receiver to come in here, but the value would probably just be there given the fact that Eckler and AJ Brown aren't that far away from each other in terms of their current value. So if you're getting just a Chris Carson tossed in as like a sweetener piece on that, I actually really do like that trade. So at the 9-11, please, Tanner, take Raheem Mostert here. Take Raheem Mostert here. Please, for the love of God, don't make me draft him. Do not make me draft Raheem Mostert. Please take him here at the 9-10. So he goes Jalen Hurts. And y'all know I'm going to be doing like 250 fantasy drafts this year. Y'all have already heard this spiel a million times. But, I mean, when we have the chance to draft a player 20 picks beyond their ADP, and I don't have them in any fantasy league so far, we kind of have to take him in a few spots. Yeah, so let's take a Raheem Mostert. We're going to get Mostert coming in at the 9-11. I do not like it whatsoever. We were hoping that we were going to get a Zach Moss falling to us instead. Zach Moss goes to JN at the 9-06. So from here, now, we just have the most balanced start we could possibly have. We have 3 running backs, 4 receivers, a tight end, and a quarterback. So I think that now we're actually going to get a Baltimore Ravens player coming in here to stack with a Lamar Jackson. So let's take Hollywood Brown. We're going to get that Lamar stack that we already have with a Mark Andrews. So this is going to be a double Baltimore Ravens stack. This is the Lamar Jackson team. Really like this team so far. We have a couple donations coming out. Thank you, my dudes. We have Mark saying Gabriel Davis or Bryan Edwards. There, I would say that we would have 100% given you the answer of a Gabriel Davis before training camp happened. But with, I mean, this team just going out there and saying, you know what, John Brown, you're straight up a bench player from now on. Bryan Edwards, you're an every down starter. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, every report that's coming out of Buffalo is more so talking up Emmanuel Sanders. I think given the recent trends that we have had, I think you do prefer having Bryan Edwards over, I hate to say it, but over Gabriel Davis. As crazy as it sounds, I know Gabriel Davis is much better quarterback play, but I think Bryan Edwards, the receiver that had more pedigree coming into the NFL, is going to be probably the better bet there. And Isaac coming up with a massive, massive donation. Thank you, my dude, saying, I have a weird question. It says on Underdog that I've exceeded my maximum deposit limit. LOL. So I have $60 left. So I guess I would be drafting with you. I won't be drafting with you much longer for the rest of the summer. Not sure what I should do. LOL. My man, I have no idea. What I would say is probably a good idea to go out there and just shoot a message to Underdog support and ask for some clarity on it. Because I wish I could help you out, my man. Of course, thank you for the massive donation. Thank you for always coming out to these live streams. Literally almost every single night, guys. Isaac has been out here live streaming with us. So thank you for, of course, always coming out to these streams and always hopping in these drafts. I wish I could give you some more advice on that. I would just say definitely shoot a message to customer support on Underdog. I've had a ton of people telling me customer support gets back to them like that. So I wish I could tell you something else, but I really have no idea, my man. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, Gus Edwards go at running back here. So honestly, I probably in my rankings do have Kenyon Drake, Gus Edwards over Raheem Mostert. Like I'm that low on Mostert, but a problem is just for diversification purposes. when I'm going to be drafting like 250 teams like this, I kind of have to take Mostert somewhere. And Party Till She Saw coming out says Joe Flacco preseason's most valuable player. Is Joe Flacco balling out again tonight? Let me look this up real quick, what Joe Flacco's done. Also, how old is Joe Flacco right now? Joe Flacco has to be like, what, 38 years old? I have no idea. I know that he is not that. Let me just look this up. Okay, so he's 36 years old. That's surprising. That's younger. That's considerably younger than a Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, that is surprising. Let me look up what Joe Flacco has actually done. Of course, I have had no chance to watch the game, so we're just box score scouting here, which means very, very little. But he's actually had 13 completions on 16 attempts, 188 passing yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. Okay, and also, guys, can someone please tell me what the Kansas City Chiefs were doing and going out there and starting all their guys? I mean, that was pretty surprising. It looks like if you look around the NFL, not many starters are going out there. Not many starters are playing. I mean, it looks like you did actually have the Carolina Panthers going out there, putting out their players. So maybe I'm going to have to pay more attention to the preseason than we initially thought. Maybe I'm going to have to go through and I'm going to have to pull up these weeks because the initial teams that I looked at, it looked like it was just going to be a week 4 preseason from previous years where it was all just throwing out backups. But now it looks like they're putting in some real guys. Actually, they did in the first half. Obviously, from here on out, it's just going to be the bum players, but I definitely need to go through and I need to take a look at that. Okay, Nick says, wanted to let you know that I'm also Dead Pulse. My man, I promise you, I know, I recognize the name from Patreon. I know that you're Dead Pulse. Thank you, my man. Thank you. Okay, so also, guys, we have almost 400 people watching this live stream right now. Let's try to get this up to 800 because when we had 800 people, I mean, we actually were able to fill that $250 draft. And that $250 draft is just so much fun because I'm trying to fill as many of those as I can because I don't think the overall contest is going to fill. So I think Underdog is going to have no option but to pump some extra money in it. So I'm trying to go through and get some of those done on the live stream. Maybe I'm just going to have to do some of those as public leagues and not on a live stream because it's obviously a little harder to fill that league whenever we are drafting at night during a stream. So if that does fill, it's most likely going to be from people with the flock. So make sure y'all drop a like on the live stream. There's no reason why this stream should not have over 200 likes on it right now. That way we can get more people in here. We can get that going, a $250 draft tonight. Okay, so Noah is back on the clock, and he has the same exact build as we do. He has a quarterback, 3 running backs, 5 receivers, and a tight end. Looks like a lot of teams are sticking with that similar plan. Now, I will say that, honestly, we can go in a multitude of different directions here. Justin Fields does go off the board. So now if we are going to be talking about potentially going with the receiver, I think given the COVID questions that we currently have with Cole Beasley, now I'm one to say that I know literally nothing. I am like a monkey when it comes to understanding what the NFL is going to do with COVID this year. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm just going to say, since I'm like a monkey, would it be better to just avoid something that people are saying to avoid? Because I have no idea. So maybe that also gives a bump up to Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders, someone that we've already been talking about as someone that the Bills are trying to pump up to the best of their ability. So just bringing in more receivers here that are going to be playing in elite level offenses, that are going to be running a lot of routes, getting targets. We're going to take Emmanuel Sanders here. I haven't drafted him in that many leagues. Okay. So one at Alex does go with the Leonard Fournette. Between us, he only had 2 running backs. I believe his 2 running backs were an Austin Eckler and a DeAndre Swift. Now he goes with an Evan Ingram at the 1201. But when we have Mark Andrews, honestly, I mean, this is a mistake that we have been previously making. I think that the mistake that we've been previously making is kind of reaching on this tier tight ends and an Evan Ingram, a Jonnu Smith, and a Gerald Everett. I kind of learned that lesson earlier today when we were going out and we were kind of recapping a draft that we were previously in. So let's just get a Nelson Aguilar here. I think another mistake that we have made in past drafts has been going through and taking quarterbacks like a Trevor Lawrence when we have already drafted a Lamar Jackson. I think that hasn't suited us well. Let me show everybody the top of the draft board for anybody who's just now coming into the live stream. Yeah, this is us at the 111. Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Godwin, Evans, Lamar, Andrews. Get that Baltimore stack. Then we go receiver heavy, only mixing in Raheem Mostert from here. So this is going to be a team where we draft 6 running backs, 8 receivers, and 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. Okay, so Isaac coming out with another donation says 78 teams on my exposure list and definitely less than $1,000 deposited, probably around 800, but I'll shoot Underdog an email. I'll try to join any of these $10 ones. Okay, my man, I hope you get out in a $10 draft. And yeah, definitely shoot Underdog an email. I mean, maybe if you shoot them an email, they'll just have to go through and they'll just have to manually change that for you. I'm sure that they would. I'm sure that they would. I have no idea why they wouldn't. It is so funny, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing because y'all know nobody's been higher on Trey Lance than we have been for a very long time now. But it's just funny to see Trevor Lawrence going 33 picks behind Trey Lance. I mean, that is crazy. Nobody would have been saying that should have happened just a few months ago. And that's including me. I mean, nobody was higher on Trey Lance than I was back in June. But still, even then, I wouldn't say that Trey Lance was someone that should be going about 3 or 4 rounds ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so Sony Michel up to 1209. Honestly, this was a bad pick by me. We should have gone Sony Michel over Nelson Aguilar. That was a bad selection by me. I mean, God, that's honestly kind of embarrassing, us deciding to go with Nelson Aguilar over Sony Michel. Sony Michel was a significantly better option, understanding that he is going to get touches weekly. And at the same time, if anything were to occur to Darrell Henderson, all of a sudden, he does become a 3-down running back. So Sony Michel was clearly the play there. I have no idea why we decided to pass on a Sony for Nelson Aguilar. Once that ADP list does get fixed, it's going to be a lot better. And I will say, guys, I mean, what's really nice about Underdog Fantasy is you can go through and you can actually upload your own personal rankings. And of course, if you can upload your own personal rankings, I mean, you're going to be able to diversify a little bit. You're going to be able to go through and really have a good understanding and go, these are the guys that I'm higher on compared to consensus because I'm drafting them over and over and over again. The problem is, I'm going to be playing in like 250 fantasy drafts, so I have to definitely pay attention to ADP going, okay, well, if I really like Laviska Shenault, let's get Laviska Shenault in 20% of my leagues. And if I really don't like a Jerry Jeudy, let's get Jerry Jeudy in about 1 or 2% of my leagues. But we don't want to be going half of our leagues. We don't want to be going over 100 leagues plus having Laviska Shenault, because I'll tell you, if we did not have those limits on ourselves, like if I went, okay, Mason, the guys that you like, you can go through and you can draft in as many leagues as you can possibly handle, I would have Travis Etienne in about 50% of drafts, yet we capped ourselves at every player. I don't want 20% of any player in our portfolio. I mean, we have a player or two hovering around 20, 21%. But, I mean, we capped ourselves there with a Travis Etienne and kind of saved us from just going bankrupt this season. So I'm happy that we capped that. Now, Party Till She's Hot says, James the Truth Robinson ranked 100 by the players. So you're saying I'm assuming the NFL top 100 on the players section where the players actually went through and they ranked people, they ranked James Robinson at 100? That is hilarious. I mean, I'm telling you right now, with how the NFL values running backs, like if the NFL general managers went through and they did like a fantasy draft or such to draft their own teams, I mean, James Robinson probably wouldn't be a pick that went off in the top, probably 300, to be honest. Even further than that. He probably wouldn't be a pick that goes off in the top 600. Okay, so KJ Hamler at the 1310. Okay, so from here, I think that we are actually definitely going to be looking to start bringing in some running backs that we think have access to elite ceilings. So we're going to bring in an Alexander Madison here, or if anything were to occur to a Dalvin Cook. I know a lot of people want to say, well, Alexander Madison didn't come out and Alexander Madison didn't just completely ball out during the season whenever you had Dalvin Cook out for a week or two. At the same time, we have seen Alexander Madison in some limited samples. I mean, he has a 20 plus touches in his range of outcomes. And at the same time, in Minnesota, who is there outside of Alexander Madison? There's literally nobody at the running back position. So Madison is going to be someone that we're drafting. And then I think we're really just having to kind of fade where we've been taking Latavius Murray as of late. I mean, I would think we've been overdrafting Latavius Murray, to be honest. Okay, so wanted Alex out here. He goes with the Chuba Hubbard at the 13-12. So similar to the exact same thought process with the Dalvin Cook here. I mean, you're taking someone that if anything happened to CMC, I mean, obviously he does go out there and crush. And now between a Latavius Murray and honestly a T.Y. Hilton, I think that T.Y. Hilton, given the amount of snaps that he is going to be playing this upcoming season, and now that it sounds like you're going to have Carson Wentz a little healthier earlier on, we're probably going to go with T.Y. Hilton here. We do need another quarterback. We need 2 more running backs, and we need another tight end. But I think that we honestly kind of punted wide receiver long enough. Let's bring in Hilton. Now we are no longer going to be drafting any more receivers in this draft, as we do have 8 of them. Okay, so Major says, who would go number 1 in the general manager fantasy draft? Oh, obviously Mahomes. Literally, if we were doing a fantasy draft with NFL general managers, and I'm not saying like a real fantasy draft, I'm saying like if they went through and they went, okay, so you know how you do a Madden franchise and then you build teams? I mean, it would be essentially only, I want to say quarterbacks, edge rushers, in very few of them. Probably some lockdown corners going in the first round, and that's it. You wouldn't have any running backs going within the first. I mean, I would imagine that I don't even know who the first running back would be off the board, but they wouldn't be going within probably the first 4 rounds or so of like 30-man rounds. I doubt a running back would go in the top 100 players in terms of most valuable players on a football field. Just because running backs, I mean, they can't necessarily dictate the game like quarterbacks, like receivers, just because we know how much more efficient passing is and how much the offensive line matters for running back efficiency. Okay, so let me go through. Let me show the very top of the draft board just for anybody just now entering the live chat. So, of course, we're going to get another draft going after this. Everybody knows we're going to get another draft going after this. Now, the question is, what is the buy-in of that draft going to be? And that is going to be up to how many likes we have on this live stream, how many people we can get recommended to, because I would love to get a $250 draft going at some point in this live stream. So make sure you're going down there and dropping a like. Make sure you are dropping a like. And for whatever reason, okay, this is actually something that I want to know because we do not have, please, guys, please. And this is something that I have no idea. I have no metrics on this whatsoever. But we currently have the chat on where anybody can type, not just subscribers. How many people in this live stream right now, and do not feel bad for saying this, I am just genuinely intrigued. So please answer me if this applies to you. How many people in this live stream right now, A, have never seen this live stream before, have never seen this channel before, or B, are not subscribed to the channel? Please, please, please spam the chat and let me know if you are one of the two options. Not trying to shame you or anything, really just trying to get a feel of what the overall demographic is in these live streams. Like if we're getting recommended to new viewers as we're live, if that's more so after the stream. So please let me know if you are one of those people. Okay, so now let's pull this up. And after we go with the T.Y. Hilton, I mean, we have a long while before another receiver goes off the board. I mean, MVS, Tyrell Williams, Sammy Watkins, Christian Kirk all go at the 14-15 turn. But it looks like, I mean, I want to say that they're a tier down from a T.Y. Hilton. I think they're a tier down. Okay, so we have some people saying they're first-time viewers after this. Okay, I just wanted to know if there were any first-time viewers. Tom says neither apply to me. Yeah, Tom always out in these streams. Thank you, my dude. I was just wondering if there were any first-time viewers out here and if YouTube was like recommending the live stream to first-time viewers or more so just people that were out here watching the videos regularly. Robbie says, not subscribed, but just use your code on Underdog, second time watcher. My man, thank you so much for using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Nothing helps this channel more. And reminder, when you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, all you have to do is shoot me a DM anywhere, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, it doesn't matter. And make sure you let me know your email that you signed up with. You can tell me, Mason, listen here, you smelly bum that has no idea what you're talking about. Send me the draft guide, send me the rankings, send me everything. I use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You just have to get me the email that you used it with. That way I can go through, that way I can send you that draft guide and confirm that you actually did all those things. So all you have to do is make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You get our draft guide, our rankings, our tiers, and you get $25 added to your account. So make sure you go through and do that. Okay, so now we are going to be back up on the clock at the 15:11. So I think that we're actually just going to roll with an Austin Hooper here, most likely. Yeah, so let's get Austin Hooper as our second tight end. Actually, let's see what Wanted Alex has. So he has Noah Fant and Evan Ingram. So I don't necessarily know if he's going to be going with another tight end. So maybe instead we just get a quarterback here. Let's just get Kirk Cousins because he only has one QB. So he could potentially be going with a quarterback, and we do not have a stack with Cousins, but it's not necessarily as important to be stacking quarterbacks in this range. So yeah, we're going to go with a Cousins here, and we're most likely going to be going with a tight end afterwards. But Wanted Alex, I mean, if he goes Hooper, if he goes Troutman's, whatever, we're going to get one of the other players falling back to us. And yeah, then we're just going to draft running back to end this draft. So he goes Tevin Coleman. Maybe we take a running back here. I'm trying to figure this out. Tight end later on. No, tight end later on is going to be very gross. Maybe the play was we should have passed on Cousins, and instead we should have gone tight end, and we should have gone with a running back with these back-to-back picks. But yeah, let's take an Austin Hooper. And we have a donation coming out from Captain U. Thank you so much, my dude. And this is going to say what you think about this trade in a full PPR, CeeDee Lamb and Tyler Boyd for Antonio Gibson and Odell Beckham Jr. So I think that I actually prefer having Antonio Gibson over CeeDee Lamb, and I prefer having Odell Beckham Jr. over Tyler Boyd. So yeah, I definitely prefer the Antonio Gibson and Odell Beckham Jr. side. I do not even have to think about that much. I think that's a smash trade, to be completely honest. Okay, so JN says, grade my draft, went running back in the first this time. Yeah, JN has been sending me a ton of teams where he's punting the running back position at the very beginning. And he's more so loading up on a ton of receivers at the top of the draft. And then from there, he's getting a little long shot on running back with his running back room. But he's going to go with a Derrick Henry at the 106, then slam receivers after that, as you would expect from JN's drafts. I mean, he's going A.J. Brown, Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones, Robbie Anderson. I will say, man, I do not like the Tyler Lockett selection. I understand the thesis in a best ball league going through, okay, and saying, well, yes, he's going to get some spike weeks, but at the same time, Cooper's going to have spike weeks. Kupp's going to have spike weeks. Godwin's going to have spike weeks. Moore's going to have spike weeks. Evans is going to have spike weeks. Maybe if you got like a DK Metcalf in the second and you really want to set yourself up to go with the Russell Wilson later on, then sure, go with a Lockett. But no, I can't get behind the Lockett pick. I'm fine going receiver here, though. Then Julio Jones, Robbie Anderson, Sermon at the 607 as one of the last running backs in that tier. McCole Hardman at the 706. I probably would prefer like a Juju, a Tyler Boyd, to be honest. But I mean, I guess you're just more so looking for spike weeks. You go with the Jalen Waddle as well. Yeah, so Jay, you're really hunting some spike weeks here. You get Tannehill at a value to stack with A.J. Brown. Get Zach Moss. Really like the Zach Moss pick. Irv Smith, Traquan Smith, Ramondre Stevenson, Cole Kmet, Jameis Winston, Carlos Hyde. I am pissed that you took Carlos Hyde. I am pissed that you took Carlos Hyde there. I thought we were getting Carlos Hyde in the 17th. Okay. Derek coming in says, Brady over Mahomes starting a team today. I'm still taking Brady. This guy will probably be winning rings at 50. I mean, I am saying that this is coming from someone who lives in Tampa right now. So I will say, y'all know I am always the first person to admit that, I mean, I do not have an NFL team that I root for. I root for certain players, and I don't have a team that I'm associated with. At least I used to live in Austin, so we didn't have a team, so I never really rooted on one. Didn't care about the Cowboys that much. Well, I think I'm probably going to become a Bucs fan this season. I think it would be fun to root for a team. I haven't done it in so long, so we're going to go through. I am not joining the Bucs fandom. Because I think that they're going to be a very good team and they're going to win. I honestly think that the Bucs are not going to be a team that makes it to the Super Bowl this year. I'd be surprised if they made it to the NFC Championship. But it's more so I'm living here and talking to people that lived here last year through the Super Bowl run. They said the city was crazy when they ended up winning. So I think that would be really fun to see Tampa just party and go crazy and go to like one of those parades with the entire team going down the channel. That would be fantastic. So I'm kind of rooting for them. But my man, if you were starting a franchise, nobody in their right mind goes with Tom Brady over Patrick Mahomes. I mean, like, there are probably 15 players that you start before Tom Brady if you're going through a franchise. More than that. Party Till She Saw It says, I already get sad thinking about the drafts ending. Hey, do not worry about that. I am meeting with Underdog Fantasy early next week, and we're going to talk about what we can potentially do during the season. Do not worry about that. We're going to have something. My man. We're going to be doing live streams very often. Y'all know I said we're doing live streams every single night until the season starts. I can't confirm anything just yet, but we'll probably be doing a lot of live streams during the season as well. And Caden says, check out my 105, my first Chubb share and Terry share as well. Okay, let's go through and we'll check out the 105 after we make our back-to-back picks here, but we are about to be on the clock, and these last two selections are going to be at running back. So, yeah, let's go through and let's just look at the running back position where, I mean, did something happen with David Johnson where he is falling even further? Was there some news about David Johnson potentially getting cut from this team that I haven't seen? Let me pull this up because maybe we have to take a David Johnson here, but I'm afraid that we're going to look like an idiot on the live stream. So I definitely need to pull this up and make sure that David Johnson is still going to be on the Houston Texans. Okay, so it looks like Let me know if David Johnson's a wasted pick here, guys. Let me know if I'm not missing anything. I can't find anything on David Johnson. Okay, I'm checking the chat right now. Okay, so I don't think anybody has a great reason why I shouldn't be going with the David Johnson here. I mean, who else am I taking? Who else can I potentially take? It's the end of the 17th. I never drafted David Johnson at all when he was going in the 10th round. I would never consider doing that. At this point, we're going to go David Johnson. Hopefully, that's not a completely wasted pick. He's going to be our running back 5 here. We're just looking for anybody that's going to be getting touches. And like I said, guys, we are getting another live draft going after this one. We are getting another one going. Just make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream, subscribe to the channel, and let's get this popping. We're going to try to get a $250 draft going. We're going to try to get a $250 draft going. Okay. So our last running back that we're going to be taking on this team, honestly, running back just gets so disgusting in the last round. So Wanted Alex goes with Eno Benjamin. Yes, he took Eno Benjamin in the draft yesterday as well. I believe he took Eno Benjamin a little earlier than this. So we are fine seeing Eno go at the 17-18 turn with one of his last 2 picks, though. So maybe we're just going to take a Kansas City guy going, okay, well, it's hard to know who it's going to be between a Jerick McKinnon and a Darrell Williams. I'll probably take McKinnon here because we have him in slightly less leagues than where we have Darrell Williams so far. I think both guys are about a 50-50 split to be the running back in Kansas City. So let's go with the Jerick McKinnon and probably regret what we actually ended up doing earlier in this draft by going with the T.Y. Hilton. But yeah, let me show off this draft room. And as we look at the 105 for anybody just now coming into this. So Caden ended up getting Alvin Kamara at the 105. I think Kamara at the 105 is a smash now that we know that Jameis Winston is starting in New Orleans, at least to start the season. Then we have Nick Chubb. And then from there, just slamming receiver. And y'all already know I said this at the beginning of the live stream, but Nick Chubb is someone that I was screaming was overrated earlier on, given the fact that he was going in the first round. I hated Nick Chubb going in the first. But if you're getting him at the 208, that is disgusting value. Nick Chubb at the 208 is a great pick, to be honest. And then from here, you go Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, Odell Beckham Jr., Kenny Golladay, Courtland Sutton, Michael Thomas, then Tom Brady at the 905. It would have been nice for us to get Tom Brady at the 911. That way we could have got the double stack in there with both a Chris Godwin and a Mike Evans. Then you have Melvin Gordon, Naheem Hines as your 3rd and 4th running back. You get 2 tight ends in Mike Gesicki, Gerald Everett, Giovanni Bernard as your 5th running back. Then 2 more receivers. And at quarterback, I guess when you have a Brady and a Derek Carr, you could get a 3rd guy if you want to. But instead, he goes with another receiver in a Hunter Renfrow. And yeah, that should be it. Let me go through and let's get another draft set up for everybody. Okay, so let me check how many people we have in the live chat right now. So we have 430 people in the chat. So I think we probably can't fill a $250 draft right now. So we're not going to do that one. So let me get a link out. And instead, we'll get a $10 draft going right now. And guys, if you have yet to already, this is how you join our drafts with us every single night. So I'm going to send out a link and it's going to say $10 draft. All you have to do is click on that. That's going to be a link to our private league where you can come in. You can get in a real money fantasy draft with us. And if you are new to the channel, we are doing all our drafts on Underdog Fantasy. Even if you've been watching these live streams lately and you're going, oh my God, I'm tired of Mason saying this. Guys, I'm saying it over and over and over again so we can get to 10,000 signups, so we can fly people to Tampa, Florida, so we can go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, so we can do a Florida Flock meetup, so we can do a 24-hour live stream, and Underdog will sponsor all of it. So let's get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. When you make a $10 deposit, this is why it should be so easy to get 10,000 signups. You get $25 added to your account with promo code FLOCK. You also get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Rankings and Tiers. You come out in drafts with us. And to go along with this, you help the show. You enter into a contest to, if we get 10,000 signups, come down to Tampa, Florida, go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. Obviously, all sponsored by Underdog. And also, when you make that deposit, we are one step closer to where you hear less and less of these ad reads, because when we get to 10,000, you better believe once we hit that goal, you're not going to be hearing this nearly as much. Okay. So let me go through and send this out right now. It's going to be a $10 draft, and I'm hoping that we get a $250 draft going later tonight. But for now, I mean, we're just going to have to mainly stick it with a $10 draft. That way we can hopefully get some more people out in the live stream. So if you have yet to already, make sure you're going down there and dropping that like. And here, honestly, I'm hoping that we get the 112. Let's get the 112. Save us. Please save us the 101 for the $250 draft. Okay, so we get the 107. It is what it is. We haven't drafted the 107 in that long, so we can go through. We can try to get our feet wet a little bit and just get used to the position again. So yeah, let's go. And at the 107, I'd imagine that now it's going to be honestly, it's probably going to be the exact same as it has been. I think really the only differences that we could potentially be looking at. Okay, wait. First, we got Isaac out here. Happy to see we have Isaac out here. At the 107, I'm trying to think of anything that we could be looking at a little differently given the injuries and everything that we have seen over the past week. Kamara's obviously not going to fall. Devontae Adams isn't going to fall in the first, so nothing changes there. And then maybe we look at a James Robinson if he makes it to us in the 4th round. Is that the main difference here? Possibly we go with a James Robinson in the 4th. Okay, also, let me switch this chat over real quick to subscriber only. I have no idea why it's not on subscriber only. That is 100% my fault, my dudes. Okay, we just switched that over. Okay, so we have Christian McCaffrey going at the 101. That's not going to be a surprise for anybody. Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara. Like I said, guys, I do think you have to be taking Kamara over Devontae Adams now with Jameis starting because, I mean, it's a night and day difference in terms of the targets that Kamara should be seeing out of the backfield with Jameis Winston versus Taysom Hill under center. So, I mean, when you have Jameis, I think that you're actually going to have just check down city. Obviously not check down city with Jameis, considering the fact that he does air the ball out. He is going to have a lot of air yards for those receivers, but he's not going to have the ability to scramble outside the pocket. That's more so Taysom Hill's game. So, I mean, if it's about to collapse, yes, maybe he just throws a duck 40 yards down in the air and then it ends up getting intercepted. But there's also a small chance that he decides to check it down to Alvin Kamara instead. And I think that's going to be a higher likelihood than what we would actually have with a Taysom Hill. Okay, so now Zeke goes. So at the 107, we are stuck in a range where, I mean, I don't necessarily like any of these draft picks. So I'll say if I'm in a large field tournament draft, I'm definitely going to go with the Kelsey here. It's a little bit harder in this draft, though. Sure, let's just get Travis Kelce. I mean, a lot of people that are significantly smarter than me talk about the advantage that Travis Kelce actually gives you at the position in a best ball format like this. From a roster construction standpoint, you're only having to draft one tight end beyond this, and that's most likely going to be someone in the 15th round. And when we have done Kelce drafts in the past, I really haven't liked how they've turned out with what it puts us at running back and receiver. But I think one problem that we've had with these Kelce drafts is I think when we see someone like an Evan Ingram falling to us, all of a sudden we're reaching on Evan Ingram for literally no apparent reason. So I think the lesson that we need to learn is whenever we take Kelce, we're literally not taking another guy till the round 18. Let's make it where the rule that we have on ourselves is it doesn't matter the value we see. It doesn't matter if George Kittle falls to the 10th round. We are not drafting another tight end until we at least get to the 15th. At least get to the 15th. We're not considering taking another tight end. Okay, so Jayan says Mason's memory and NFL stats equals a goated. Anything else equals a dur. I will say, yeah, 100%. Guys, if y'all know, I can literally bring up any random NFL stat from anybody that's been drafted since 2014 at receiver or running back just because I am a psycho with Dynasty Fantasy Football and evaluating those prospects coming in. And also just spending so much time researching fantasy football every single year, making those videos every single day, as well as just going through and writing those draft guides. I mean, I have all those stats lodged deep in my brain. But if you ask me anything about what's going on anywhere, like if you bring up a major topic that's going on in like the world or something, I'll have no idea what you're talking about. I'll be like, wait, what are you talking about? All I know is that, I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is getting glowing reports coming out of Buffalo and Gabriel Davis isn't. That's my entire world. I don't focus on anything else, my dudes. Okay, so now let's go through and pull this back up. Okay, so after Kelce as our tight end 1. Okay, so Isaac is on the clock. Isaac goes with a Tyreek Hill. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to keep my mouth shut. Okay, so he goes with Metcalf. Honestly, we're going to go running back here. We're going to take someone we have not drafted very often, and we've already said it a million times. Yes, horrible in the first. I think we're going to get him in the middle of the second here. We're going to be fine with it. We're going to go with Nick Chubb at the 206. So we're going to start this draft off with Travis Kelce and Nick Chubb. Okay. So let's go through and let's check out if we have any of the new people out here. Okay, so Liam Creeley looks like a new name. Putt Life looks like a new name. Javelin looks like a new name. Obviously, we have Isaac. I believe this is Caden flocking up, my dude. Do not know who he is in the chat. Card Muffin, that's a regular. Vito's Pizza, not a regular, but definitely has been out in these before. Then we have Derek out here as well, even though with Derek, I always forget the acronym. So hey, we got him. We got him. Derek is out here at the 101. JK Ooper, also a regular. So I'm happy to see we have a nice mix of regulars and some new members to these drafts. Of course, that's what we're looking for every single draft. Okay. So AJ Brown at the 210, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson. So Joe Mixon falls to the 211. Guys, I know that it's a very easy for a lot of people to come out with some surface level analysis and go, look, Joe Mixon, he failed in 2019. Look, Joe Mixon, he failed in 2020. That means we shouldn't draft him this year. Got to go a little deeper than that. I have an in-depth video coming out maybe tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or the next day where we break down Joe Mixon. It just depends on when Thomas gets that to us. Okay, so Party Tushy's Hot says, whoa, Nick Chubb diversifying the portfolio, huh? Like I said, man, I think that in the middle of the second round, Nick Chubb is okay. So if I pull up my rankings right now, I know we're going to have him in the exact same tier as a Joe Mixon and a Najee Harris. I believe we actually probably have Nick Chubb slightly behind those guys, but let me pull this up because even if we have Nick Chubb slightly below those guys, I mean, earlier on in drafts on Underdog, you actually had Nick Chubb consistently going in this range of running backs instead of where we had him ranked in this range. So we never had the opportunity to draft Nick Chubb, where if I pull up the version 5 of my rankings, which you can find updated on Patreon, or if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you should have these updated rankings. We have Nick Chubb at 17 overall. We have him one spot before Joe Mixon, 2 spots before Najee Harris. So we actually have Nick Chubb ranked right here. We have him actually ranked where DK Metcalf went. So yeah, we're going to be fine taking Nick Chubb. If I pull up exactly how many drafts we have taken him in, if I pull up Underdog Fantasy and our exposures really quick, so I've taken Nick Chubb in 1.5% of my fantasy drafts. We have taken Nick Chubb nowhere, but he used to never fall in this range. So it's a little bit of a different story now. Oh my gosh. So now I think we actually end up going with the Terry McLaurin. If we're talking about diversifying portfolios, yeah, we're going to go with the Terry McLaurin at the 307. That's our first receiver. This is a team that does not look like a team I would draft often. Yeah, we got Travis Kelce, Nick Chubb, Terry McLaurin here. If I look up how many drafts we have taken Terry McLaurin compared to a Cooper Kupp, like Cooper Kupp, we have taken in 11% of leagues. Terry McLaurin, we have taken in 6.2% of leagues. So yeah, we have almost double Cooper Kupp than Terry McLaurin. We know that we're going to have a lot of opportunities to take Cooper Kupp also at this 3-4 turn. We're never going to see Terry McLaurin fall that far. So let's might as well take Terry McLaurin here at the 307. Okay, so Jordan says, Mason, how high would you draft Godwin if Antonio Brown did something dumb and got booted off the team? I think, man, I'm already very aggressive if you look up my rankings on where we currently have Chris Godwin. Like, if you look up my rankings right now, I currently have a Chris Godwin at wide receiver 13. So that's going to be considerably ahead of ADP. And if you're going through, and I need to switch something over. And if we're going to be taking, just say we take away Antonio Brown out of this situation, I think you have to raise Godwin over Robert Woods. You have to raise him over Allen Robinson. And this is in my rankings. I think that Chris Godwin, if you take Antonio Brown out, is actually a receiver that's going right in this range. I think he's going at the beginning of the third round for me. I don't think that would actually happen in fantasy drafts. I think instead he would be going in the middle of the third, but I'd move him up to the beginning of the third. Y'all know I've been very high on Chris Godwin. I mean, since we've seen him dip down to this range, like if I pull up my price on Godwin, I have Chris Godwin in 16.9% of leagues. I have Chris Godwin in a ton of leagues. Ben coming out with the donation says, imagine watching and not hitting the like button on the stream. My man, thank you so much for coming out, donating to the channel. And yes, guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream just yet, what are you doing? I finally drafted Nick Chubb. I finally drafted Terry McLaurin for you. What else do I need to do for you? Drop that like on that stream. Let's get that $250 draft going here. I'm going to be very excited to get that $250 draft going. We just need more people out here so that fills. I know it's very entertaining to watch that draft. Also, it's a lot of fun for me to do given the pressure that we have on us. So I bet you Isaac probably goes with the Patrick Mahomes here, considering the fact that he took Kelce in the first round. Yeah, so he goes with Mahomes. So speaking of diversifying, Tyler Lockett, someone that we actually only have in 4.6% of our drafts. I mean, he has an ADP way before this. We need another receiver. We're just going to go with the Tyler Lockett. We're going to take Lockett at the 406. I have him in very few leagues. This is going to be a draft where I guess we're just going through, we're building a different team. Obviously, he provides us access to those crazy spike weeks for the best ball format. We actually saw JN take him at the 306 in the previous draft. But here I think Tyler Lockett at the 406 is going to be fine. JN says, how insane is getting Godwin at the 412 with the CMC team? I saw that screenshot you sent me on Twitter, my man, and I mean, that is wild because we know when you take a Christian McCaffrey, you're planning on just going maybe with an elite tight end here and then just going receiver, 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 receiver down the line. And once you get to this 4-5 turn, I mean, usually you are in no man's land. But if you have access to getting a Godwin, that is like the definition of a league winning player. That is fantastic, my dude. Okay, so now we have David Montgomery falling to the 409, and this is best case scenario. I mean, when you go Adams, Lamb, Cooper, your best case scenario is getting a David Montgomery at the 409. I mean, you would have to imagine that Fallon is very excited about that selection. You have to imagine that he is ecstatic about that. I actually ended up getting David Montgomery in the last $250 draft that we did. I got him at the 502 on a team where we took a Dalvin Cook. So, of course, that was very exciting. But if y'all want to see another $250 draft, make sure you go down there and drop that like so we get more people out in this live stream. We get more people that can potentially go through and join us. Okay, so we have just a small run on receiver. So we have talked about this time and time again, but we have to start to think about what we could potentially do to stand out with this team in the middle of the 5th round, because once we get to the 5th round, there's no such thing as a bad selection. There's no such thing. It's no man's land. I mean, I could come out here and I could take Carlos Hyde and you can't make fun of me. I mean, obviously that's a joke, but there are a million different players. Like, I don't love taking Josh Allen at the 501. I would actively say that Josh Allen's a pick that I don't like at the 501. I probably prefer going with someone like a Miles Sanders, but still, I mean, at the end of the day, can we make fun of you for it? No, I don't think we can. I don't think we can. I guess now let's switch this back over, and I just have no idea where we're going to go. And we're obviously not going to do it, but maybe this is a spot since I don't know where we're going to go in some drafts. Like, we possibly would have to go with Kyle Pitts, but I've literally dropped Kyle Pitts in 0.8% of leagues. And if you include Dynasty, it's even lower than that. If you include my Dynasty leagues as well, I probably have Kyle Pitts in about 0.6% of leagues, which is crazy to think about. Every one of my 50 leagues, I probably have Kyle Pitts in one. Actually, less than that. Yeah, that's less than that. I don't know why I'm so dumb. That would be 2%. I would say I'm probably in about, if you include my Dynasty leagues, probably about 160 leagues at this point. And I think I have Kyle Pitts in one. So whatever percentage that is. Okay. So now, I really have no idea where to go here. Obviously, Jamar Chase is falling for good reasons. You have Jerry Jeudy going at the 504. You have Odell Beckham Jr. going at the 503. Jamar Chase is someone that I have not drafted very often whatsoever. You know what we're going to do here? This could be a mistake. I know we can acknowledge the fact that we need running back, we need receiver. I'm going to try this out. It's a $10 draft. This is something we can try out. We can test it out, getting an elite quarterback, getting an elite tight end for one of the $250, one of the $50, one of the $100, whatever we're going to do, one of the higher stakes drafts. Let's bring in a Lamar Jackson. One of the reasons I'm taking Lamar here is we do not have DeAndre Hopkins. So given the fact that, I mean, Lamar and Kyler are going to be in the same tier for me, I think that we prefer just going with a Lamar Jackson, given we can get some stacks later on. Obviously, we're not anticipating the ability to get Mark Andrews. Andrews is probably going to be off the board by the time we get back up on the clock at the 606. But we could get we could get a Hollywood Brown. We could get a Rashad Bateman. We could get a Sammy Watkins a little later on. So let's go with Lamar Jackson at the 507 here. Like I said, there's no such thing as a bad selection in the 5th round. So now we are only going to be drafting one quarterback, one tight end, and let's have some rules. We cannot draft another quarterback. We cannot draft another tight end until the 15th round. It does not matter. It does not matter who falls. Actually, I will say. Actually, no, we can't even take Mark Andrews. I think if Mark Andrews fell to us at pick 66. Of course, we wish we could go back. We wish we could change that Travis Kelce selection to a Tyreek Hill and make everything look pretty. But we can't do that at this point. So it wouldn't even matter if we would have the value with the Mark Andrews in the 6th. We are no longer looking at QB. We are no longer looking at tight end until round 15. Jaggy says, why do we want to stack players in a best ball? My man, I want to stack players in all leagues. I want to stack players in every single league that we are going to be playing in, not just in best ball drafts. I have an in-depth video going through and explaining why I love stacking players in general. What I would do is look up the Fantasy Flock Network. Just go to the page and look up one of our most popular videos, which is #1 fantasy football draft strategy for 2021. It should be the one that has Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf on the cover of it, on the thumbnail. So I definitely go through and check that out. Okay, so given the uncertainty that we currently have with a Jamar Chase, I actually think that we're going to take Tyler Boyd over Deebo Samuel here, even though I would be interested in possibly getting a Trey Lance. Actually, we can't get Trey Lance. I've already committed. We've committed to Lamar Jackson. We're waiting a very long time to get our next quarterback coming in. Isaac says, I'm going for the all initials team. Okay, let's check out where Isaac is currently. Okay, so Isaac has Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. Okay, so he has J.K. Dobbins and T.J. Hawkinson. Okay, so those are the initials he's talking about. Are there any other, like, obviously there probably are. I'm probably being an idiot, but what are the other players that have just initials as their first name in the NFL outside of Dobbins and T.J.? Okay, so Dak Prescott at the 609, Myles Gaskin at the 610. Thank God we ended up getting a Nick Chubb in the second round. Well, yes, it's not a Christian McCaffrey level running back at the same time. I mean, at least going to give us a floor at running back 1 that we can reasonably expect every single week. And if Nick Chubb got hurt, I mean, this team's dead regardless. So we don't necessarily even have to worry about that. Reed says, what happened to Chase? Okay, so there's nothing confirmed. Like, I'm not making a video about it or anything just because I don't have enough information. And like I said, guys, I'm an idiot, so I can't talk about things that I don't know about. But there's some concern for a domestic violence dispute. I don't want to say it's a massive concern, but there's some. And obviously, I don't have all the details. I'm not going to come out here and act like I do, so I can't really speak on it that much. But there's some uncertainty that we currently have with the Jamar Chase, which I think does make us want to push Tyler Boyd currently up our draft board a little bit. Okay, so we have A.J. Dillon, K.J. Hamler, DJ Chark, J.D. McKissick as the all-initials team. A.J. Green. How did y'all know all those off the top of your head? I wouldn't have been able to tell you one of those off the top of my head. My brain does not think that way. A.J. Brown. Okay, so Deebo Samuel at the 702. Okay, so Deebo falls a decent amount here. Deebo Samuel was the best player according to ADP back at the 606. JN coming out says, allegedly, drop that allegedly. Yes, allegedly. That, like I said, I can't speak on it. I have no idea what's going on. But I think if we are trying to win money, we should probably pay at least a little attention to it and understand that Tyler Boyd maybe does have some reasons to be drafted at the 606. Kenny Golladay continuing to fall in drafts. Are we about to get a Kenny Golladay at the 707? Okay, so Javelin, this is, I believe, their first draft out with us, with Zeke, Najee Harris at wide receiver, Higgins, Robbie Anderson, Cortland Sutton at tight end. They have George Kittle. A very strong team so far. I mean, not necessarily too interested in Justin Herbert, I'd imagine. Yes, they go Kenny Golladay, so we don't have Golladay coming into us. I will say we're probably trying to catch up on both receiver and running back here. While we did take Raheem Mostert in the last draft, that was because he fell to the 911. I can't be taking him here at the 707. So instead, we're just going to continue to just go out there, draft receivers. Let's just get Devontae Smith in here. Try to get someone that we believe has a ceiling if anything were to occur where maybe he just is half as good as he was at Alabama. He comes out here and he crushes, and that's worth the 707. Okay. Daniel says, Mason with the $10 deposit, how can I get the 2021 draft guide? So like I said, guys, if you are new to the live stream, if you are new to the channel, or for whatever reason, if you have not done this already, with a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, which is where we live draft every single night, you get our 2021 fantasy football rankings, our 2021 fantasy football draft guide, our 2021 fantasy football tiers, our 2021 dynasty rookie draft guide. All you have to do is make that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Go with a link in the description of the video, in the description of in the comment section of the video or the live chat, anywhere there. And once you do that, all you have to do is send me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram. If you don't have social media, that's completely fine. There's a link where you can DM me directly through our fantasy football group chat in the description of the video as well. It's called Discord. All you have to do is click it. Then you can shoot me a DM really quick once you're in that group chat. All you have to do is send me in message saying, Mason, listen here, nobody likes you. You need to stop making videos. You need to stop doing live streams. We can tell you smell. We can tell you got no friends. Just send me that draft guide ASAP. Here's the email that I signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. Here's where I made that $10 deposit, and I'll be very happy to send that out to you right away. Okay. So now we have Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers finally going off the board at the 7-11, 7-12. Of course, we love seeing those players go off when we already have Lamar Jackson. Not going to be considering either of those quarterbacks. We really just are trying to play catch up on both receiver and running back now. I understand that we have 4 receivers, but we did wait until the 3rd round to get our first guy into Terry McLaurin. We have Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd, Devonta Smith. So I don't necessarily want to say that we are strong at receiver. So I think that so far this team, we're probably average at receiver. We are below average at running back. We are elite at tight end with Travis Kelce. We are elite at quarterback with Lamar Jackson. And like I said, we can no longer be considering quarterbacks or tight ends. We are just strictly receiver and running back until we get to about the 15th round. So let's just continue to bring in these guys. Let's continue to bring in these receivers that are projected to see some volume. I can't be taking someone like Michael Carter. I can't be taking someone like Ronald Jones, Zach Moss, or Raheem Mostert over the receivers in this range. So yeah, we're just going to end up having to go with the Jarvis Landry and hope that we get one of the running backs that we like falling back to us. But let me know what y'all are thinking of this draft so far. I saw Fallon is in this draft, so let me go through and let's check out his team. He is out here in every single draft. So of course, thank you, my man. He goes Adams at the 104, Lamb, Amari Cooper, David Montgomery. Like we already said, I mean, that is a dream start for you to get David Montgomery in the 4th round when you start 3 wide receiver heavy like that. And then I'm assuming, yeah, you went Dak Prescott at the 609. So you didn't even risk it. You didn't even play it safe by going with the Dak Prescott in the 5th. Instead, you definitely took a small risk by just locking him up at the end of the 6th round. I mean, you could have easily seen Lamar Jackson go off before that, but you take the gamble. You get him anyway. Really happy to see that. And you get Chase Edmonds out of value, and you bring in Curtis Samuel. I think Fallon's winning this league right now. I think this is by far and away the best team. They have the best receiver room. It's not even close. They're, I want to say, maybe slightly below average at running back, but a big thing is they essentially made that bet. They go, well, if Dak Prescott's healthy all year, if this Dallas Cowboys offense is top 3 in passing yards, then who's beating this team? And the answer is probably nobody. Okay. Jay Yee coming out with a donation says, every Pittsburgh running back does great, even D'Angelo Williams, LOL, Najee, college stud. Why isn't he a 1st rounder? Okay, so I'll say with Najee Harris, the big thing is if you're going back and you're looking at the history of what you actually had in Pittsburgh with those running backs, it's going to be really hard to compare that situation when you had a D'Angelo Williams there. I mean, obviously balling out whenever Le'Veon Bell had his suspensions, whenever Le'Veon Bell was nicked up for a game or 2. But a big difference is back in those days, Pittsburgh had the best offensive line in the NFL, and it wasn't even close. And now this season, you're actually going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers with one of the worst offensive lines in football. So it's a night and day difference. Really, the only similarities between those teams were obviously Ben Roethlisberger. I wouldn't even say Ben Roethlisberger is a completely different quarterback at this point. I mean, given the lack of arm strength that he has compared to what he had whenever you had Le'Veon Bell in there, just obviously crushing fantasy drafts so long ago. I mean, really the only similarity between those two teams is the jersey and Mike Tomlin. And yes, Mike Tomlin's going to give Najee Harris a 3-down workload. So, of course, you have to consider Najee Harris as a low-end running back 1, a high-end running back 2 at the very minimum, given his volume. But the efficiency is going to be a little tough, given the fact that you're going to end up seeing defenses not necessarily respect the team as they've done in the past with the lack of arm strength from Ben Roethlisberger. And to go along with it, it's going to be a much worse offensive line. Okay. So now that we're going to be back on the clock, I mean, I think at this point, we're probably going to look to go with a running back here. I mean, I think we kind of have to. So David coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Thank you. Okay, so Ronald Jones goes to the 906. I think we're actually going to go with a Michael Carter here. And Graydon Pitchy Fitness comes out, says, that is ridiculous. The Steelers never had the best offensive line in the NFL. My man, that is crazy to say. The Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line used to be an elite unit. The Steelers back in like 2014 had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I mean, there's no arguing against that. And David coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, thoughts, redshirt stud, Kenneth Gainwell. Guys, with the Kenneth Gainwell, did he pop off tonight? I understand that this is someone that, yes, a lot of people were excited coming out of Memphis. I actually bought into the hype as well. But historically, if you look at what we actually have had with running backs, and I know it's very boring to just go down to this one little factor, and of course there's a lot more that goes into evaluation based on this one factor. But guys that are going in the 5th round of the NFL draft, they are very rarely ever getting a shot to do anything in the NFL. So obviously box score scouting real quick. Of course, we're going to have to actually watch him play on the field. But he looked pretty good today where he went out. He had 5 carries, 32 rushing yards, a touchdown. And then he had 4 receptions for 27 yards as well. He's a dynamic player, but you can't ignore the fact that this team, I had the chance to draft him in the 5th round. There were how many teams that decided to pass on him for so long? If you look at historical hit rates, obviously, a lot of y'all in here have our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. I implore you to go out there and to read the category on how important draft capital is for the running back position in the NFL and seeing that production correlate directly. Okay. So here we cannot look at a quarterback or tight end. We cannot get those sirens coming in and trying to distract us from our goal of building up this running back, building up this receiver room. And here we're going to go with a James Conner, someone playing an elite level offense, someone that you're looking at if anything were to occur to Chase Edmonds. All of a sudden, you have James Conner as one of the best running backs in fantasy football. Yeah, so let's get James Conner coming in here to the 10:06. Okay, so Griffin coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says 12-team Superflex PPR, 4 points, passing touchdown. I have the 6th pick. Who are your top 6 players in this format, and who do you like the most? Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, or Lamar Jackson? Okay, so I'll say in a 4-point passing touchdown league, my man, this is where you have to give a massive premium to a Lamar Jackson, given the fact that you actually have, just that rushing production mattering so much more. And this is what I talk about a lot in our draft guide as well, because y'all know in our draft guide, we go through and we talk setting by setting on how you should be making adjustments based on your league settings. And I will say that when you're transitioning from a 4-point passing touchdown league to a 6-point passing touchdown league, then the guys that have the passing volume, they're going to be a little bit more intriguing, and the rushing quarterbacks aren't going to be at as large of a premium. But in a 4-point passing touchdown league, my man, I'm going to have, I know this sounds crazy, but it shouldn't, considering what we just saw. Literally, what was it? Like 20 months ago? Not long ago at all. We're going to have Lamar Jackson as our quarterback 2 in that format. So we're going to go with Lamar Jackson at quarterback there. And in a 12-team Superflex PPR league, if this is going to be a redraft format, we have to understand that, you're still going to have those running backs at the very top. I think how you actually break it down that way, our top 6 players in that particular format, you're going to have Christian McCaffrey at 1. You're going to end up having Dalvin Cook at 2. Then I think from there, that's when you can have some conversation circulating. Personally, I'm still going to go with a Kamara at 3. Then I think you slide in Mahomes. Then I think you actually get a Devontae Adams after Patrick Mahomes, and then probably Lamar Jackson at 6. But really, it's going to depend on so many different variables. That's why we don't currently have Superflex rankings posted on Patreon with all those different positions mixed in, because it really depends on how many flex spots you have in your league. Also, how many okay, real quick, we got to switch this over. We got to look at some running backs and receivers here. So we have Jamal Williams going at the 11:06. So that definitely does suck. But when we have gone through and when we have drafted 5 receivers trying to catch up at the position, I think we're honestly kind of fine at receiver here. Obviously, we have Kelsey on this team, so we're not looking for a tight end anytime soon. We have Lamar Jackson, so we're not looking for a quarterback anytime soon. I think instead we were just going through, we're trying to find some running backs that we can bring in. So let's get a Devin Singletary in here. This is going to be a team where we do draft 6 running backs. We are going to be drafting 8 receivers, 2 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends as well. Okay. So let's switch this back over. And guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream yet, make sure you go down there, drop that like on the live stream. It definitely helps us out a ton. Philip says, what is ADOT? ADOT is average depth of target. Sony Michel goes at the 11:09. Sony Michel, definitely a running back that should be going in this range. I need to remember Sony Michel when we're going through and when we're drafting in the 11th, 12th rounds. I need to remember Sony Michel, need to remember to look his direction, because Sony Michel could have definitely been an intriguing play there at the 11:07. Okay, so Emmanuel Sanders at the 11:10. Sterling Shepard. Honestly, at this point, it's kind of crazy to see. I mean, you still have players like Joe Burrow and such available. I'll say if that quarterback tier makes it back to us, we're probably going to end up drafting a quarterback here. There's a real chance that ends up happening considering the fact that the other teams between our 2 picks, they do have elite quarterbacks as well. So once we have the Sony Michel going off the board, I think that we are probably looking at a very flat tier at running back where there's going to be nobody that's standing out from here. So obviously receivers already kind of falling off the wagon when you have Emmanuel Sanders, Sterling Shepard, Nelson Aguilar going off the board. So I think we're possibly going to double dip back at the QB spot, even though we have a Lamar Jackson. Maybe this makes it where that Lamar Jackson pick in the 5th was atrocious. But I don't necessarily know where else we would have gone. I don't know where else we would have gone. I mean, if we go back up to the 5th round, what could we have done? I'm not necessarily reaching onto Javonte Williams. I can't take Kareem Hunt when we have already drafted Nick Chubb. Josh Jacobs goes right before us. And a receiver, Jamar Chase, I think just avoiding that risk is probably ideal. Now, Joe Burrow does go at the 12:01. Naheem Hines at the 12:02. So Aaron says, where is J-Rob usually going now? Also, sorry about your boy Etienne Mason. My man, it's okay. I had Etienne in a ton of leagues. Obviously, it's going to be a lot harder to be profitable now, especially when we had Cam Akers in so many leagues as well. But it just means we got to work harder. That's all it means. We got to work harder. We got to try to make ground from the hole that we were sitting in. Mike Gesicki still available. This is where we get in trouble. This is where we definitely get. Okay, so Mike Gesicki does go. Thank God. I was going to say we were about to get into some trouble having to maybe consider drafting a Mike Gesicki. So going back to running back and receiver, I've already drafted Cole Beasley in a decent amount of leagues. And like I've already said, guys, it's embarrassing how little I know about the COVID situation with what we're going to have in terms of the NFL this season. So it looks like it's going to be hard to get away from Beasley. This could be a very bad pick. This is something that I definitely need to have a greater understanding on. I just get so confused by it. I don't necessarily understand it. So I've chosen to kind of ignore it up until this point about what the NFL is going to be doing with everything going on this year in terms of putting players through protocols. I haven't cared. I haven't paid attention. It's probably something that I should start to do because now when we're in a situation where we're looking where we need to draft a Cole Beasley at the 12:06. And I'm going, well, maybe I don't like this. Maybe Cole Beasley is going to miss some more time than we really think. Maybe Cole Beasley isn't going to be playing as much. But at the end of the day, this is a receiver that's going to be running a ton of routes on a very good offense with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We need a receiver here. So we're going to go Beasley at the 12:06. Okay, George says, hey, Mason, a big fan, was watching your running back videos and you never did a walkthrough on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, that's something that I noticed. I mean, after we uploaded that video and I was going through and I was watching it through the Premiere, because I record the videos, then I send them over to Thomas and Thomas edits them all for us. I noticed that we did not have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there. I was like, oh my God, because y'all know I hang out in all those video premieres. So if you're subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button, because when we premiere those videos, I'm out in the live chat answering questions and everything with every video that we premiere. So I watched the video again after we record it with all that everything edited. And I realized we forgot to talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that was definitely bad. Okay. So Alexander Madison at the 12:12. Damian Williams goes at the 13:01. Very rarely are you seeing Damian Williams go in this range. I guess maybe this is a spot where Damian Williams doesn't have a great chance of making it to the 14-15 turn. So if you're picking at the end, I'm sure you can go with the Damian Williams. I'm not salty or anything. It's not like I was planning on drafting Damian Williams. We are weak on running back. If I go through and show this team, this is something that I want to highlight again. I mean, I know projections say, I understand that a lot of people smarter than me want to come out and they want to talk about why Travis Kelce is such a good pick on Underdog in the first round. And I understand the thought process behind it. But when we go through and when we make a Travis Kelce build, very rarely do I like how the team turns out. I mean, so far with this team, we have Kelce at tight end. At running back, we have Nick Chubb, Michael Carter, James Conner, Devin Singletary. At receiver, we have Terry McLaurin, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd, Devonta Smith, Jarvis Landry, and Cole Beasley. And at quarterback, we have a Lamar Jackson. So I know that... I know we're supposed to be going Kelce there. I don't know how it works out, though. I really don't know if... Okay, so now I guess we go with Rashad Bateman. One reason we take a Lamar there is we know that we can actually end up getting players coming in that are going to stack with Baltimore a little later on. Now, Rashad Bateman, of course, we have to be worried about the injury, and I don't love drafting him in the 13th round, but it's, you know what? I'm still not going to be taking him. The problem is we don't have the fantasy football playoffs here. It's just who can score the most points throughout the season, and I think in a format like that, it favors T.Y. Hilton, even when we have Lamar Jackson. Now, I will say if we were going to be playing in just a regular public league on Underdog, where, you know, if you get first or second in your league, you actually also get entered into a large field tournament for the fantasy football playoffs, where you can win like $1 million on top, win $200,000, of course, all the way down the line. If we were drafting there and we want to make sure that we have a very dominant team for that overall tournament, then of course I'm getting this stack in here with a Rashad Bateman in the 13th round, someone that we think can be very strong at the end of the year. But this is a little bit different, where we need to make sure that we are going through and instead we are getting guys that are going to score at the beginning of the season. So I think getting a T.Y. Hilton here actually makes a lot of sense at the 1307. Possibly you could have convinced me to go with the quarterback, but I really think one of the main mistakes that we have made in these drafts is when we go with the Kelsey, when we go with the Lamar. I mean, I feel like these guys are sirens in this range. I feel like they're screaming, draft us, draft us. We look great here. And while, yes, they look great, we're sitting there in the last round and we're having to draft. I mean, who did we take in the last draft? Darrell Williams. We're having to draft Darrell Williams at running back going, okay, well, what was this about? Where did I go wrong? And you don't want to be in that scenario. At least I don't want to be in that scenario. I'd rather be taking like a Carson Wentz in the last round at quarterback. So then we're going to continue to just try to get wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back through these rounds. Okay, so Ramondre Stevenson goes at the 13-12. Y'all know I've been pumping up Ramondre Stevenson before the preseason started. Okay, so let me switch this back over. Cole Kmet at the 14-01. And guys, make sure you are dropping a like on the live stream. Let's try to get this sucker to... Let's try to get this to a range where we can do a $250 draft out of this. I would love to get a $250 draft going. Okay, so we are about to be up on the clock and a few more picks. Byron Pringle goes at the 14-02. That is very surprising. That's very surprising. Okay, so now we're going to be pulling back up a running back and a receiver. So I know a lot of people are worried about Latavius Murray possibly getting cut from New Orleans. I honestly probably think we have to take a Latavius here, though. Okay, Latavius Murray does go, so we're not even going to have to make that decision. So now I guess we're either going to be going with the receiver or Giovanni Bernard. And honestly, with how Giovanni Bernard has trended as of late, we're probably going to... Actually, no, Gio goes. So something we can consider is possibly taking a Paris Campbell here and then stacking later on with the Carson Wentz. Amaro St. Brown, I'm not dying to draft. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Campbell here. Paris Campbell is someone that we've had to get a little lower on, considering the fact that this is all of a sudden someone that looks like he could potentially be just the wide receiver 4 in Indianapolis. And obviously, if he's the wide receiver 4 in Indianapolis, I mean, it's going to be a spot where we have to just entirely avoid. But yeah, at this point, I think Paris Campbell is going to be a fine pick at the 14-06 if we are going to target Carson Wentz a little later on. It's going to be a good range where we can get a tight end in round 16, a quarterback in round 17, and then just get running backs from here on out. I think we're going to be fine. Derek coming out with a donation. Thank you, my dude, saying, of course, for $10, I get the 101 and the $250 draft. And next, I'll get the 112. Lock it in. Check out the team. It's similar going Allen and Waller. Okay, let's go through and let's check out Derek's draft. So yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying at the beginning of this live stream. I mean, whenever we were getting this draft going, I was like, please, for the love of God, give me the 112 and then give me the 101 and the $250 draft. But if we go through, if we check this out, I mean, oh my God, so you really take it extreme, taking CMC at the 101 and then just entirely avoid the running back position. I actually saw someone do this in the puppy draft earlier today. I saw that they decided to pass on running backs up until I counted out as like the 12th round. They took their next best running back, but from CMC, you go Darren Waller, Keenan Allen, Chase Claypool, Josh Allen. Like I said, man, I think that it's going to be very hard for me to get behind taking Allen here. But at the end of the day, I can't make anybody. I mean, I made a very similar selection with the Lamar Jackson at the 507. I made a very similar selection. So, I mean, maybe I can say that it's bad in my mind, but at the same time, I mean, who are you really going with here? Who are you that confident with? Okay. So now going beyond this, you're just loading up receiver from here. Okay, so you have Gallup, Antonio Brown, Rondale Moore, Marquez Callaway, Terrace Marshall. So it's intriguing. Did you have a chance to go through and really draft any running backs that we could have been excited about? So I guess instead of Callaway, what I honestly maybe would have considered is instead of Callaway, if you could have gone with like a Ronald Jones and locked in a decent amount of touches for your running back too. But I guess here you're more so going, okay, well, if we get an injury to any one of these players, then obviously you have a running back 2 jumping up into your starting lineup. I mean, you're going pure handcuffs here. I would say the opportunity cost to go with a running back like a Rojo or a Zach Moss, the 901, isn't going to be massive. Like if you go with a Rojo instead of a Tony Pollard and you switch Marquez Callaway and Bryan Edwards, are you missing out on that much? Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think you're missing out on that much at receiver, and just having those guaranteed touches to start the year at running back could make the difference for you to just rise at the very beginning of the season instead of having to sit around and wait for an injury. So maybe this is a better game plan for a large field tournament where we are just going the most upside humanly possible. But yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Okay, so Willie coming out with a donation. Willie making it out to the live stream. My man, thank you. Thank you for making it out to the stream, dropping those likes. Of course, thank you. I hope all is well in Dallas, Texas. My dude, Dallas, Texas, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, the home of God knows what else. Willie, let me know if you're going to go to the OU Texas game. I was telling people in the live stream, Willie, how we went through and snuck into the OU Texas game back when they had CeeDee Lamb going with Jalen Hurts, and we snuck into that game by just going gate to gate. Pretty good, pretty good. Let me know if you're going to try to do that this year. Okay, well, let's switch back over. And possibly here we need to begin to start thinking about tight end. We're no longer looking at receiver. So we are strictly quarterback, running back, tight end from here. QB, there are going to be a lot of guys that we could look at. I actually think that we're just going to go with the tight end. We're going to get Hunter Henry if he doesn't line up on a bye. Yeah, so we're going to get Hunter Henry coming here into the 15th round. So yeah, let's take Henry in the 15th. And then we're only going to be looking at one quarterback and one running back after that. One quarterback, one running back, I believe. Okay, let's switch this back so everybody can see what is going in the draft. Willie says he has tickets to the game now. My man, you have tickets now? Ballin'. Okay, okay, so now after we go Hunter Henry, probably a good call because we do have that tier of tight ends going directly after. I was trying to debate if we could go with an Austin Hooper and just in the 16th round if we decided to pass on a Hunter Henry. Thank God we didn't decide to go that route. That would have been pretty disgusting if we did so. Okay, so Chuba Hubbard goes to the 1603. Honestly, I would really like to get Chuba Hubbard making it back to us in the middle of the 16th round. And we're about to get another draft going after this, my dudes. We're going to get another one. Okay, so Sammy Watkins would make so much sense with his team when we have a Lamar Jackson in this range, but we just can't take Sammy. And there are so many quarterbacks left. There's so many QBs left that I think we probably just go with a running back. I mean, we're actually going to have another pick here. We're going to go, we have to draft 2 more running backs. I didn't know we had to draft 2 more running backs. Yeah, we 100% have to draft a running back here. I kind of got mixed up with where we were. We can't draft Xavier Jones anymore, so we're going Malcolm Brown. Let's bring Malcolm Brown into this team. This team has gone off the rails a little bit. We are going to be extremely weak at running back. This is going to be a brutal team at running back. Isaac coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Says, darn you for sniping T.Y. Hilton, but my team is probably dead. I was having fun with the initials thing. Okay, so you are actually continuing to try to go with the initials thing. Okay, let me go through. Let's check out this team. Going full on initials team. This is a $10 draft, so you can do some fun stuff like that. Okay, so here, yeah, I got Tyreek, DK Metcalf, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, AJ Green, MVS, Brashad Perriman, a receiver. So at least you're going with a decent amount. I'm assuming that you're probably going to go with at least one receiver, probably 2 receivers in this draft. At running back, you have Dobbins, Mike Davis, AJ Dillon, Melvin Gordon, Giovanni Bernard. Actually, so you probably go one running back, one receiver, I'd imagine. And then at tight end, Irv Smith, TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, so you're done at tight end. Obviously, you have the elite quarterback in Mahomes. So very intriguing team. How many? So you got AJ Green you got 4 initials on the team. You got 4 names with initials. Okay, that's impressive. That's more than I thought you were going to be able to get. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a run on quarterback. Jameis Winston now going at the 16-11. I will say in some of those puppy drafts, I'm probably going to want to start to get Jameis Winston going in the last few rounds. I'm going to want to start throwing Jameis Winston into some teams just because he hasn't gone in a lot. So the ownership's going to be real low. So I think Jameis probably does make a lot of sense to be drafting. So Carlos Hyde does go at the 1607. Hate to see Carlos Hyde go there. Maybe Carlos Hyde's someone I should be taking over Malcolm Brown. I don't know why we would ever take Malcolm Brown over Carlos Hyde, to be honest. I mean, we know Carlos Hyde's going to be getting touches in Jacksonville. That's 100% guarantee. Okay, so now let's pull this up. There's still so many quarterbacks that we could go with. And we're talking running back. We need one more quarterback, one more running back. I mean, like Teddy Bridgewater, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, Sam Darnold, Derek Carr. How many teams after us could reasonably go with the QB? Okay, so flocking up, my dude, is at least going to go with one quarterback. And then everybody else has two. So I guess we could see the quarterbacks go off the board. Darrington Evans goes. Okay, that sucks. Darrington Evans would have been the running back that we were going to draft. Darrington Evans going does take our running back away from us. Obviously, you can't draft Xavier Jones with Sony Michel in town. So from here, we're probably going to go quarterback. That does suck. But there are also a decent amount of teams that are probably going to be able to go quarterback here. You see a lot of teams with only two QBs. So let's bring in, we're going to take a Carson Wentz. A big thing that we did earlier in this draft is we got T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell as our last two receivers. Maybe just building in a very cheap stack for the Indianapolis Colts, trying to capture any spike weeks we can. So let's go through and just double check that Carson Wentz is on the same, a different buy than Lamar. And yes, he is. So let's take Carson Wentz here as our quarterback too. And we're going to be getting most likely a very, very gross tight end coming in here as well. Okay. Let's move this down. Okay, so Jarrett McKinnon at the 1708, John Brown, Tony Jones. Let me know if y'all think Tony Jones is someone you should be drafting. Omar says, what's the next draft buy-in? $100 question mark. We'll get a $50 draft going after this one. I mean, I think that we are going to be in a spot with I think that you're going to have Underdog going through and throwing in more money into that $250 tournament because I don't think it's going to fill. So Underdog has those guarantees that they have to put out. So I'm trying to save as much money as I can to go through and do those $250 big dog drafts because if we're playing in a 12-man private draft, I mean, Underdog obviously isn't throwing any extra money in there because it's not a large field tournament that has the playoffs at the end. But I think those big dog drafts that may end up happening if it doesn't fill. So I want to go through and I want to at least take a shot at it or at least a couple shots. So we're probably going to have to say some. So let's do a $50 draft after this. What I'm probably going to do instead is we're going to hop into the $250 draft lobby. And if there's already like half a lobby sitting out there and filled, then we're probably going to sit down. We're going to see if we can go through and fill the last few spots. But yeah, we'll try to get a $250 draft going after this. It's either going to be a $250 or it's going to be a $50 stream. Okay. Derek Carr, Sam Darnold. Okay, so possibly we could have gone running back. Boston Scott had a big day in Philadelphia today, but let's switch this back over. And I I mean, I feel like we mess up anytime we wait this long on running back. Our team was elite at quarterback, elite at tight end. I think very good at receiver considering how many guys that we got that are going to be seeing snaps. But at running back, we're nearly completely dead. Let's just take a Devontae Booker, cry a little bit inside. Yeah, it's not going to be a fun pick. We're going to take Devontae Booker. And then let me go through, and what I'm going to do is show you all the draft board real quick for anybody just now coming into the stream. And then we'll go through, and I'm going to sit in the $250 draft lobby and then see if we can get this filled. I mean, the thing is, it's a public league, so we actually may not necessarily have to fill it with only people in the live stream right now. So let me go through and see how many people are going to be in this stream. I'm sorry, in this draft, sitting here waiting. Okay, so let's enter the big dog. Okay, so there are actually a couple of people in here waiting right now. So let's try to fill a big dog draft. So this is going to be a $250 draft room. So if y'all want in this draft right now, all you have to do is go to the public lobby on Underdog Fantasy. I'll send out the link right now. And then go to the big dog. Okay, so here. We sent that link out. Go to the big dog. It's going to be the $250 buy-in. And I'll kind of highlight. I'm going to quote-unquote leave this draft real quick just so I can show y'all exactly why we're doing this. Okay, so this is the big dog. Let me hide this. Actually, I'm not going to hide the camera real quick. We can just move the camera over here. So this is a big reason why we're doing it in that we know that there are about, 11 days until we get the season started. So if you're actually looking at the amount of entries that are yet to be had, it looks like this draft is not going to fill. And that does not mean, this tournament is not going to fill. And that doesn't mean that there are going to be less prizes available. Underdog is guaranteeing these prizes no matter what. They do the math based on assuming that it's going to fill. But a lot of other people are doing the $5 draft. The $5 draft, over the past few weeks, I think it's been available for like 2 weeks, has had 99,000 people enter it. So the big dog draft hasn't come close to that. So Underdog has to guarantee these prices. So they're possibly going to have to be pumping in their own money to get this filled. And that means there are going to be less people fighting for the same amount of money. So I wasn't planning on doing any of these drafts, but I actually think that it makes a lot of sense if we think that Underdog is going to have to throw in some, I don't want to say free money, but they're going to have to throw in some money where there's going to be less people fighting for it. So I want to try to take some shots. This is going to be a $250 draft. All you have to do is go to the lobby on Underdog Fantasy, join the big dog, and that's the exact room that we are waiting in right now. And once this gets filled, there are 6 more spots. We will get this draft going. And guys, also, if you don't necessarily know what we're talking about with Underdog Fantasy, this is where we draft every single night, my dudes. Every single night we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy, and we have the perfect partnership with them ever. And in our partnership, if y'all deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you can find a link in the description. You can find a link in the live chat. You can find a link in the comment section. You are actually going to get with a $10 deposit, $25 added to your account. You're going to get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, our 2021 Fantasy Football Tiers, our 2021 Fantasy Football Rankings, and you are going to get entered in a chance to come to Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. And we get 10,000 people using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is going to fly people down to Tampa, Florida through a giveaway. So please, guys, I want to do the 24-hour live stream. I want to do that giveaway. I think it would be so much fun. I think it would be great for the overall community to get that Florida Flock meetup going and be able to fly people down at the same time. So use promo code FLOCK and Underdog Fantasy, and you are going to hear way less ad reads once we get that goal done. But I just really want to make sure that we get that 10,000 mark so we can get those people flown down, because Underdog said they're going to pay for it. Okay. So it looks like maybe this draft is not going to fill. So instead, we're probably going to end up getting a $50 draft. Now, if you joined, I don't think anybody from this live stream joined this draft, but if you did, all you have to do is press leave draft. If you don't want to be drafting with random people and you really want to be drafting on the live stream, I'm sure that this will probably take another 30 minutes to fill. I can't sit here for 30 minutes on a live stream. So however, we are going to go through, and instead we are just going to be getting a $50 setup. But if you hit leave draft, literally, we did this earlier. We did this literally like 30 seconds ago, and we just entered back in, because when you leave draft, it automatically, instantaneously adds $250 right back to your account. So you don't have to be worried about that at all. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to set up a $50 draft that's going to get sent out in the live chat right now. You're not going to have to join this from the public lobby. It's just going to be sent in the live chat. It's going to be a private draft, so it's only going to be sent in the live chat for the people watching this live stream right now. And let me copy this link and send it out. Anthony says, flocking up my dude here, Mason. Flock, fix your life. My man, thank you so much. Badass name, obviously, on Underdog. Thank you, my man, for coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream. Okay, so let me send this out right now, this $50 draft for anybody wanting to come out here. We just sent that link, and we will go back and show this draft board for anybody who's wanting to hop in here. And yeah, I'm assuming that this is going to get filled very quickly. It doesn't get filled as fast as the $10 drafts where, you actually have a real chance to come out here, and we sent that out in the live chat right now, and you see how slow this is filling. So don't complain that you never have a chance to get in these leagues, because right now you have a chance. There are 3 spots left available, 2 spots left available. This should be gone very soon. You got 1 spot left. Let's get the 101. 101 or 102. 101 or 102. Come on. Okay, the 108. That kind of sucks. It is what it is. We're stuck in no man's land. We just got done with a draft where we ended up going with the Travis Kelce. We're possibly going to be looking at a similar selection here. Okay, we actually have Isaac coming out after he says that he's reached his deposit limit on Underdog Fantasy, and he's coming out playing in a $50 draft. Okay, so now we go through and see if we have a lot of new people out in the stream. We had Zigzag out here, who I believe was in the $250 draft with us the other night. I could be mistaken. We have Lozamar out here. I believe that's a new name. I'm a God out here. We have Radley Potato. We have a lot of new names. Obviously, Isaac, Deesnators, Derek, all of those are regulars. JK Ooper, that's a regular. Flocking Up My Dude, that's a regular. Top Dog, that's a regular. B-Nas as well. So it looks like they decided to give the regulars all the crappy picks from 5 to 12, and they gave all the newcomers to the live stream the nice picks in 1 to 4. So I'm excited to get this going, my dudes. I'm very excited. Okay, Sleepy Joe Biden VR says, no 250. No, my man, we are not getting a $250 draft going. I wanted to, but sadly, I mean, just not enough people wanted to get in, and I can't sit there, and I can't just sit there for 20 minutes trying to get it filled, because obviously that's not fun for the live stream. I'd rather just get in a draft, and if y'all aren't wanting to draft with me, what's the real point? So let's get a $50 draft going instead. Okay, so let me close that out. Let me grab a link. Isaac says, my last $50 until my account is fixed, so why not? Oh, yeah, let's go. Let's fire this up, Isaac. I'm honestly rooting for you in this draft, to be completely honest. Okay, so Matt says he is a zigzag. Okay, Matt, let me know. Am I correct in the last draft that you were in with us? Was that the $250 league? I know it was a higher stakes leagues. I don't know. I don't know if it was a $250 or I don't know if it was a $50 draft. Okay, Matt says he was in the 250. Okay, so he was in the 250. That's what I thought. Okay, so Chapman says, I'm in for the $250, Mason. Yeah, guys, like I said, we're probably not going to get a 250. I literally just tried to get that filled, and it ended up not filling. Maybe tomorrow night, just whenever we have more people out in the live stream, it's going to be a lot easier to fill. I mean, whenever we had 800 people the other day, we were able to fill it quite easily. So we'll probably wait until we get more people out in the live stream another night. Just because I tried to do it. I shared my screen with y'all, showed y'all that we entered in. We sat there for a couple minutes waiting, see if anybody out here in the live stream wanted to get in. But looked like it wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. If we were sitting there with like 3 spots left, then yeah, we would have waited it out. But I mean, there were 6 spots left, and it didn't look like it was getting filled at all. Okay, so Zeke goes to the 106. I mean, a very standard start here. So it looks like, are we really going to go Kelsey? I think we're really about to go Kelsey. Yeah, so we're taking a Travis Kelce. At least we got to practice. At least we got to practice in the last draft with a Travis Kelce start. Okay, so Ethan says, is the $50 draft a $50 per person or $50 to win? No, it's a $50 buy-in. It's a $50 buy-in, my dudes. Yeah, that's why when we say it's a $10 draft, when we say it's a $50 draft, when we say it's a $250 draft, that's a buy-in to the league. We're playing in some real money fantasy football drafts. Guys, we're playing in some real money fantasy football drafts. We do every single night. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're dropping those likes because nobody's coming out here and providing this kind of content. Nobody. Okay. So now we have Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley. Okay, so we have a little bit of a running back run going here. So I will say that it does suck when we're not going to get a Jonathan Taylor falling back to us because obviously when we're picking the beginning of the second, every single time I'm just staring at Jonathan Taylor, praying that he's going to make it back to us at the 205. So that no longer being an option does change a few things. Maybe this is another start where we go Kelsey and Nick Chubb. Maybe you see it. Maybe you see it because obviously, I mean, it's going to be a lot harder in drafts like this to actually catch up on running back whenever they're going to be the private rooms. If we were playing in a public draft, you would see a lot more running backs falling. Like you would see a Josh Jacobs consistently falling to the 5th, 6th round. But here, I mean, Josh Jacobs is going to be going at the beginning of the 5th. We're not going to have an option to take him here. So we're probably going to be wanting to go with the running back. Yeah, Nick Chubb goes. So I think instead we have to take Stephon Diggs. You know how many drafts you have the opportunity to take Diggs and Kelsey on the same team? Like literally none. We have to take Stephon Diggs. We have no option. We have to take Diggs. Now we can possibly get excited that we could go with a Josh Allen in the 5th round to avoid that no man's land. So yeah, we're going to go Stephon Diggs at the 205. David coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man says, does Underdog have league money to break even? So no, Underdog actually does have a rake. So if you go through before you enter any contest, you would see the rake on Underdog. Like for the big dog that we just pulled up, the rake is 8-something%. So it's not bad whatsoever. Honestly, it's so nice. And this is one thing that I talked to Underdog about, that I definitely prefer Underdog over a lot of other platforms. and that they are so transparent with the exact rake, because obviously any platform that you pay on is going to have a rake of some sort. But if you're playing on some other platforms that may be DFS or whatever, that rake is going to be really hard to find. You're going to have to go through and you're going to have to do some deep dives to see exactly how much the site is taking. Whereas on Underdog, they list it out right at the very beginning. When you go to click join, they go, okay, the rake is 8 point something percent depending on the contest that you're going to be in. Obviously, if you're in the puppy, I think it's a little bit more. But Party Until She Saw says, Top Dog, it's me again. You are going down, man. Come on, Mason. Okay, so let's see where Top Dog is at. Okay, so wait, Party Until She Saw, you're not Top Dog, are you? No, your real name on Underdog is Party Until She Saw. I don't know what I'm messing up with. So is Top Dog out here in the chat? Let me know who Top Dog is in the chat right now. So obviously this is an Underdog regular. I mean, this is how you know you have clout, is when you have the shield. That pretty much means you were drafting on Underdog last year with a decent amount of leagues, because you get that by a certain amount of winnings. And obviously you have to have been drafting last year to have those winnings, unless you're drafting with a different sport. And we were not drafting with a different sport. So, I mean, Top Dog here has some clout coming in here, flexing on us with his shield. Okay, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 301. So now when we start Kelsey and Diggs, we're going to be desperate at some running back, and we're going to need running back help. I mean, we're probably going to end up having to reach on running backs later on in this draft, to be honest. Okay, so there are no real picks that kind of stand out as shocking selections. I mean, very rarely are you seeing an Antonio Gibson fall to the 207. In the majority of drafts, you're actually having Antonio Gibson go ahead of all of DK Metcalf, Nick Chubb, Najee Harris. I'm very surprised to see Stephon Diggs fall to the 205. I'm not joking, I've probably done closing in on like 150 Underdog drafts so far, and I don't know if I've ever seen Stephon Diggs fall to the 205. That's why I didn't even consider looking at him. I didn't think that he was going to be an option. That's why I was like, okay, well, I guess we're getting Antonio Gibson, until we saw him falling here. Now, we do like that Derek's kind of going a little wide receiver heavy. Okay, so J.K. Dobbins at the 304, that's a lot earlier than where you usually see J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is usually lasting until the end of the third round. So maybe we're in a little bit of a different spot where let's see what makes it to us. I mean, if we have an Amari Cooper or something, we may end up having to take Amari. Okay, so Deesnators is on the clock after going back-to-back running back. CeeDee Lamb goes, okay. So with Lamb going, Amari, y'all know I have to get my man Robert Woods. I have to do it. A lot of these teams here also have taken running back. So then we're probably going to see a lot of receivers going off given the league format. Now, this is a $50 buy-in league, guys. So keep in mind, this is like a risky pick. This has some real stakes behind it. There's $600 in the league pot right now. And we're going to be taking Robert Woods with the third round. This is where I have him in my rankings. This is where we're going to be taking him. If our rankings and our ADP lines up, and we're only in the third round, and if we're in the third round, we can't necessarily be reaching according to team need, we're going to go with the Robert Woods. Derek and I are battling it out right here, going, I don't want to say zero running back because we're only through 3 rounds. But, I mean, going and having these starts is going to be very intriguing to see what other teams do. So, Devin, subscribing to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining the flock, my man. Okay, Austin says, when you accidentally pull out the zero running back strat and it works out for your name, might be Mason. Okay, so we're not doing the zero running back strat here, my man. We are doing we're not doing the hero running back strat here. It looks like we're doing zero RB. Not intentionally. It's more so this is the value that's fallen to us. So Godwin at the 310. Of course, we love to see that Chris Godwin value. Now, Top Dog went with a Jonathan Taylor and a Najee Harris. Then he gets a Mike Evans at the 311. Ripple says, are we not doing any more $50 leagues? This is a $50 draft right now, my man. This is a $50 draft right now. Of course, I would rather get a $250 draft going just because I think Underdog's going to end up having to throw some more money in that league pot. We'll try to get another $250 going tomorrow night. We'll see if we get some more people out in this live stream. But for now, I mean, we're having to kind of stick it with just the $50 draft. So we got Tyler Lockett at the 401. Let's switch this back over. And the real question is, if Mahomes makes it to us, do we press the button on Patrick Mahomes? That's the real question. It would be one of the hardest teams to build around, but This would be something I would 100%. Okay, James Robinson goes. James Robinson going sucks. I wanted Robinson in the 4th. But now we may end up having to go. Okay, Mahomes goes. So I guess we get DeAndre Swift. I really thought we were going to go with Mahomes. I was going to say that I wanted to do that in a 10-man league to try to test it out first rather than a $50 draft. But yeah, I think that just given the fact that it's a $50 draft, yes, DeAndre Swift is falling down given the injury concerns. You can't be as excited about drafting DeAndre Swift. We'd possibly go with a receiver over him if we had drafted a running back beforehand. But with our team so far, we're going to go Kelsey, Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, and DeAndre Swift. David says, I remember when you had 2,000 subs. My man, so do I. How many people saw the video that I posted on Patreon? Like the thank you video that I posted on Patreon where I was going through and showing the progression of the flock as we went through. And obviously with all that support on Patreon, I mean, we've been able to grow the flock tremendously. We've been able to get some serious upgrades going in here. I mean, I wish I could show that on the live stream right now, but obviously not that many people would be intrigued with the channel progression. But I would say if y'all want to see the video, even if you're not on Patreon, it's an intro for anybody to, if they're deciding to join Patreon or not, you can see the progression that Patreon's allowed us to take this entire setup. So let me go through and I will show y'all actually what I can probably do right now. No, I'm not going to send out the link. I'm not going to send out the link to the video. That would be too hard for me to find. I can send out the link for Patreon for anybody who's wanting to check out that video because it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so just go to Patreon and you should be able to see it. Even if you're not a Patreon member, you should still be able to see it as like the intro video on Patreon. Okay, so we have Miles Sanders, and we just sent that out in the live chat. We also have our Patreon links, of course, in all the video descriptions. Okay, so Sanders at the 406, then more receivers going after this. So Adam Thielen, I would say if we were going to pass on to DeAndre Swift, we probably would have been going with the Julio Jones. And honestly, if we would have had, say, instead of Stephon Diggs available to us in the 2nd, and we would have gone with an Antonio Gibson, given the injury to DeAndre Swift, we possibly would have gone receiver in the 4th. We possibly would have gone with him in the 4th. Okay, now, in the 5th round, I guess, especially when we don't take Mahomes, we're probably going to be going after a Josh Allen here. Because we know in a private draft like this, we're not getting Josh Jacobs. People aren't letting Josh Jacobs fall to us here, even though I'll tell you in a public draft, I mean, anybody drafting in public leagues on Underdog, like if you're in the puppy, if you're anything like that, you'll see that Jacobs is making it to this range consistently, which is why I have Josh Jacobs in like 20% of these drafts. But Jacobs, he's not making it out of this range. And Josh Allen goes at the 412. So it looks like we have no shot at getting Josh Allen either. So that sucks. Whenever we get Stephon Diggs in the 2nd, of course, it would be beautiful to get Josh Allen in no man's land to try to get that correlation in here as well. Okay, Deontay Johnson at the 501. So let me pull this back up because just trying to figure out. Honestly, I don't even think we can consider a Darrell Henderson in the 5th round either. I mean, if Henderson fell to us in the 6th, maybe we consider him then. But yeah, I'm not necessarily going to be looking to take Henderson at the 508. And where can we possibly go, to be honest? I mean, see, this is what I'm saying. Like Josh Jacobs, his ADP is actually behind this pick. So maybe, just maybe, Josh Jacobs makes it to us. No, Josh Jacobs goes to the 503. That's what I'm saying. In these drafts, he always goes a little earlier. He always goes earlier in the private drafts compared to the public drafts. But if you're drafting on Underdog, guys, don't feel the need to draft Josh Jacobs at the end of the 4th, the beginning of the 5th. You can get him at the end of the 5th, the beginning of the 6th. I've drafted Josh Jacobs in the 6th round a ton on Underdog. Okay. So let's see where Radley Potato decides to go. Okay, so Kyle Pitts at the 504. So with Kyle Pitts, yeah, we're not going to be considering him. So we are happy to see him go off. I'm just trying to rack my brain. Like, what can we do when we're weak at running back? We're weak at receiver. Actually, we're strong at receiver. With Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, we're strong at receiver. We're just weak at running back right now. I mean, we have Kelsey. Actually, I think we like this team. Even though I want to throw a fit every time we have to take Travis Kelsey, I think it is a strong team. And, of course, we love seeing these tight ends begin to go off the board. So Jerry Jeudy goes to the 506. Not really going to be considering a running back here, to be honest. Mark Andrews goes to the 507. Of course, we love seeing those tight ends go off the draft board. So now the question is, do we just suck it up and take a Jamar Chase and take the risk that comes along with it? I think that we do. I think it's harder because we tried it in the last draft. I think it's harder to take the elite quarterback and the elite tight end on the same build. So we're going to take the risk. We're going to go the risky route with a lot of upside. We're going to end up just taking a Jamar Chase here at the 508. And also, guys, I do need to give a massive thank you for everybody who's considered joining the flock on Patreon as of late. I mean, literally, I'm making like 8 podcasts a day breaking down people's teams on Patreon over there. If I pull up a screenshot of right now how many Patreon members we currently have, this is like the craziest thing ever. I wish I could see a graph exactly with how many members we have on Patreon. I'm sure that Jan has probably sent us one, but not as of late. But yeah, I mean, we just passed 1,000 members on Patreon in the Patreon community. And now we're going to go through and we'll pull this up. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Thank you, everybody, my dudes. Now, Jamar Chase is someone that we do not have in a lot of leagues. Like right now, if I pull up my Underdog exposure on how many leagues we've actually drafted Jamar Chase in, I'm going to be very underweight on Jamar Chase. And y'all know this was someone that when he was going in the 4th round, I was screaming how bad of a draft pick that was. And remember, Jamar Chase used to consistently go ahead of T. Higgins, and I was yelling that that was one of the worst pick in fantasy drafts. But now that Jamar Chase is going at the 508, it's going to be a little more intriguing. Yeah, I only have Jamar Chase in about 6% of our fantasy leagues, which, of course, a lot of those are when we're getting him at the end of the 5th now, and we never drafted Jamar Chase in the 4th round, which is where he used to go. So Chase, I don't love at the 508, but it's the no man's land. It's really so hard to find anywhere else to go, and I think when we get an elite tight end at the beginning of the draft, we're going to be playing catch-up mainly on both receiver and running back. So I think we more so need to be just not necessarily paying the premium to go and get that elite quarterback. I think it makes more sense to get the elite quarterback in the 5th round when we go strictly running backs and receivers through the first 4 based on how we have seen our teams get constructed up to date. So now y'all know exactly the player that we're going to be actually, maybe we have to go Darrell Henderson with this next pick. Now I'm going to be begging right now in a live stream, please flocking up my dude. Please, J.K. Hooper. Take Darrell Henderson. Do not make me take Darrell Henderson. If I pull this up, yeah, he goes Kareem Hunt. Hunt would have been the running back that I was wanting if Darrell Henderson would have gone. Henderson is someone that I've drafted in 1.5% of my leagues. I've drafted Darrell Henderson nowhere because when he was going in the 4th round, I was screaming that he was someone that you didn't want because they were bringing someone in. Obviously, they were bringing someone in if you looked at the entire running back room. But I think now if we're getting him at the 605, we possibly have to go with a Darrell Henderson. Because we want to go running back here. You know what? We want to go running back here, but I think Mike Davis is also someone I don't have at all. So let's go with Mike Davis. I don't necessarily like the selection. We kind of have to go running back. Our hand is forced. I definitely preferred having a Kareem Hunt. I was really hoping that someone else was going to go with the Darrell Henderson, so that selection was a little easier. If I pull up a Mike Davis to see how many leagues that I have Mike Davis in, I have Mike Davis in 2.3% of my leagues. So I've drafted Mike Davis very little as well. I mean, these are both players that I've not drafted very often. But let me know what y'all think about that, because that is something I have no idea about. I have no idea where we should be going between Mike Davis and Darrell Henderson. That is one of, if not the most difficult decisions that we've had to make so far in this draft. Okay, so now let's pull this back up. Okay, so JN just sent us a graph on how many people we've gotten on Patreon. This is, okay, JN, thank you for sending that out in the chat, my dudes. Thank you for anybody deciding to join the flock on Patreon. And I actually have a very exciting announcement that I wasn't going to announce this till next week, but I guess for anybody in the live stream, we can announce it now. Y'all know I already upload podcasts every day on Patreon, breaking down people's fantasy football teams for them. Whoever joined, when you join Patreon, you get a team broken down by me. But now also, we're probably going to be uploading weekly videos for Patreon, weekly exclusive Patreon videos as well. I have a plan to roll that out. That's most likely going to be during the season. But yeah, we're most likely going to be doing weekly videos on Patreon, just given all the support that we've had on there. I'll show you all this graph real quick for all the Patreon support, which is, it's unbelievable. That is the graph from March 2020. So that's not that long ago. So March 2020, it's just been skyrocketing. That is unbelievable. Thank you, everybody, my dudes. Okay. So now we have a Myles Gaskin going at the 612. Selfmade says, Henderson is on my do not draft list. My man, Henderson is on my do not draft list as well. He's been on my do not draft list for a very long time. But at the same time, so is Mike Davis. That's why it's very hard for me. I think we need to go with the running back there. I have Trey Sermon in a ton of leagues. We can get Trey Sermon a little bit later than those other running backs in most spots. Myles Gaskin, actually someone that I have ranked ahead of Mike Davis. But at the same time, I mean, we're going to be able to get Myles Gaskin significantly later in a ton of other drafts. And we have also never really drafted Davis. Now, what I will say is it's probably not smart for me to be drafting Davis in a $50 league. I should have probably drafted him in a $10 league if we want to get some exposure. Okay, so we actually have, David says, when you go Kelsey, you need to always go with the running back next. My man, I will say it's difficult to do that. Like, I mean, we were looking at Antonio Gibson in the second round. That was the guy that I thought we were going to get. And then we had Stephon Diggs fall to us. I have literally done almost 150 drafts so far on Underdog Fantasy. And you know how many times I've seen Stephon Diggs fall to the 205? Literally maybe once. And I think that was in this draft. We had to take him. We had no other option. I mean, it does suck having to take a Mike Davis here over guys that we would probably prefer at receiver. But to get a Stephon Diggs at the 205, I mean, I prefer Diggs and Mike Davis compared to Antonio Gibson and Deebo Samuel. It really just comes down to that. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. So Aaron Rodgers at the 704, that's a little earlier than where you usually see Aaron Rodgers. Usually see Rodgers going about the middle of the 8th, but I'm assuming that here Radley Brodo ended up taking a Devontae Adams at the 104. So maybe that's his explanation in wanting to end up going with an Aaron Rodgers there. Okay. So Russell Wilson at the 706. Now when we're on the clock, easy selection, Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds is my dog. Y'all know how much we love Chase Edmonds, playing a part of an elite offense in Arizona. I mean, we have seen him get a 3-down workload whenever he's had the starting running backs ahead of him be injured before. They give James Conner just the veteran minimum, essentially, at the running back position. Chase Edmonds at the 708, really going to like that value. So now, I mean, I don't want to say we've caught up at running back, but we have at least had some projected volume coming in. We've had at least some projected volume coming in with the Chase Edmonds. Okay. So let me scroll back over. And I'll make a formal announcement on exactly the kind of videos that we are going to have. We're going to have a formal announcement on what we're having with the videos that are going to be coming out on Patreon, as well as what we are going to end up having as well on something that we have on YouTube coming out pretty soon. I don't necessarily want to give it away right away, but we're going to have something soon. Okay, so Logan Thomas at the 712 seems pretty aggressive for Logan Thomas, to be honest. That does seem pretty aggressive for Logan Thomas. Corey Davis at the 801. Here I don't even know what we're necessarily wanting to fall to us. I mean, at quarterback, we don't necessarily have an intriguing stack that we could build with a Justin Herbert. We would be fine bringing just more guaranteed running back touches in. We'd be fine bringing in some wide receiver depth. So yeah, I don't even care what goes here. I mean, you have Tom Brady at the 802. Perfectly fine seeing Brady go. Damian Harris at the 803. Y'all know I'm not a massive fan of Damian Harris, so that is fine as well. Okay, so let's get something going at the 805 here. We're probably going to go receiver because y'all know I'm not someone drafting Raheem Mostert in the 8th round. I'm not drafting Mostert in the 8th round. So we're going to go with the receiver between Darnell Mooney and DJ Chark. Everybody knows who I prefer. I definitely prefer having DJ Chark over Darnell Mooney regardless. So I'm happy to see Mooney go at the 804. We're going to be bringing in DJ Chark as our wide receiver 4. This can set us up to take a Trevor Lawrence later on, someone that I have been liking the value as of late since he's been falling down draft boards. So now let's switch this back over. So A.J. Dillon at the 806. Jarvis Landry at the 807. Caden says, is this a $250 draft? No, this is a $50 buy-in draft. This is not a $250. Is not a $250. I wish it was the $250. We ended up not being able to get the $250 filled. So instead, this is a $50 draft. Okay, so we're just going to have... I mean, also at tight end, like I said, whenever we go with the Kelsey in the first, you cannot take another tight end until the 15th round because you're already so locked into Kelsey and you're just behind the 8 ball, both at running back and receiver. You're pretty much just trying to play catch up at both positions the rest of the draft. Because if you could just piece together an average receiver, an average running back room, and you have Travis Kelce on the team, then you are going to be crushing your league mates because you're going to be getting like an extra, I want to say like an extra 8 points per game just based on Kelce. Even if they roster 3 tight ends, and you're going to have an extra roster spot to catch up with receivers as well. So yeah, you're going to be crushing with Kelce. If we can just try to find a way to find average production at receiver and running back. And I think we're probably a little above average right now at receiver when we do have Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, Jamar Chase, and DJ Chark. Probably pretty strong at receiver. And we're just weak at running back with Swift, Davis, Edmonds. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, so Trey Lance, Justin Herbert. So this is, I believe, the first draft that I possibly ever seen Trey Lance go over Justin Herbert with. Now that is aggressive. I will say that I don't necessarily agree with ever drafting Lance over Herbert, especially if you're going to be picking at the turn here, because you know that this team is never going to double tap quarterback. They're never going to go with both Justin Herbert and Trey Lance since they have a Josh Allen here at the 412. So you're essentially going, okay, well, this team can only draft at most one more quarterback. And who on the planet is going to be drafting Trey Lance over Justin Herbert? And if we scroll up, they also have Keenan Allen in the second. So obviously they're going to be going with Justin Herbert. So I don't necessarily like the idea of taking a Trey Lance at the 811. Now we were hoping that Sony Michel was going to fall to us a little later on. So it does suck to see him go at the 902. Ronald Jones goes at the 903. Raheem Mostert at the 804. I'm sorry, 904. 904. I apologize for that. Okay, so let me pull this up. And if you look at best available, receiver, which is completely fine given the fact we need a receiver. So, I mean, if we're going through, of course, we don't have any intriguing stacks because we haven't drafted a quarterback so far. But honestly, no problem. No problem. So Thomas goes at the 906. I'm trying to see what the teams behind us. Okay, so it looks like B-Nast will have back-to-back picks here, and he's only drafted Austin Eckler and Javonte Williams. So it looks like he probably would go with the running back. Now, what I'm worried about is we know there's going to be a massive receiver run happen here. So what we'll probably do on our team is we'll probably end up taking Zach Moss. We're going to take Zach Moss here, and then we may get a quarterback coming back to us in the next round. So let's take Zach Moss. I honestly thought Zach Moss was going to be off the board by our next pick, just because he was the last running back available in that tier. Colin says, what is your Michael Thomas exposure? Okay, so with Michael Thomas, I am only drafting him in the public underdog leagues that have the large field tournament at the end that we are looking for the most upside possible. And they actually have Michael Thomas in 8% of leagues, so I'm pretty average on Michael Thomas. But here in leagues where, I mean, it's only going to be a 12-man league where you don't have that large field tournament at the end, I don't think I've drafted Michael Thomas in a single one. Okay, David coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Thank you, my dude. I don't see a message with it, but regardless, thank you for supporting the channel, just coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream. Okay, so we have Michael Pittman, Marquez Callaway going at the end of the 9th. I'm assuming this is going to be a lot of receivers because there are no running backs left in this range after you take a Zach Moss. Zach Moss is someone that I've actually drafted in a decent amount of drafts. Like Zach Moss, I have in 16% of leagues. And I drafted him. I don't think we drafted Zach Moss in a single league last year, to be honest. Just because we don't necessarily love a running back playing alongside Josh Allen. But at the end of the day, I mean, he is going to be the feature running back on one of the best offenses in the NFL. And we're looking for raw touches at this point. Okay, Ryan says, Mason, why are you so confident Trey Lance will start? Or you're not scared of them possibly taking the Mahomes route and sitting him for a year? No, I've been saying this all summer. A lot of people were calling me stupid at the beginning of the summer. Now a lot of people are all of a sudden waking up to the fact that Trey Lance is going to be starting a lot sooner rather than later. What I prefer to do, rather than just listening to coach speak and rather than just listening to these guys at press conferences going, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's our guy. Oh, Melvin Gordon, he's our guy. No, guys, of course, they draft these players to play them. I mean, it's very simple. If you look at the last 10 quarterbacks that were drafted in the top 3 picks of the NFL draft, I mean, you actually had 9 out of 10 of them starting by week 4. So if you look historically, these guys are going to start. They're going to start right away. Okay, so now at receiver, we're just going to go with Hollywood Brown. We're going to go with Hollywood. Yes, we need a quarterback, but we also need a receiver. And we can't afford to draft 3 quarterbacks at the very end of this. This is something I may want to talk about a lot now. Especially on Underdog Fantasy, this may make a lot of sense. Where now that we have guys like Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater, now that these quarterbacks are now startable, it may make a lot more sense to go through and just wait until the very end of the draft and draft 3 quarterbacks. That may be something we're implementing. We may start to avoid this tier of guys. Like if we don't necessarily like the value that we have with the players in this range, we may just start to look to avoid them. And instead just go, well, you know what? What we can do is we can just get Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz in our last 3 picks. That would be very intriguing. That would be very intriguing. Philip says Lance before Herbert. Guys, I'm not saying you should draft Trey Lance before Justin Herbert. I am not saying that whatsoever. I mean, nobody, at least I thought nobody was higher on Trey Lance than I was. Apparently this guy is, but I'm not going to be near that range. Okay, so Melvin Gordon at the 10.08. I think that's a real interesting strategy just with quarterbacks right there. Get some Melvin Gordon at the 10.08. Jalen Hurts at the 10.09. Let me know what y'all prefer between just say a receiver that I probably would have taken here. As realistically, I would have taken Curtis Samuel if I would have decided to go with a receiver over Zach Moss. Would y'all prefer Curtis Samuel and Gus Edwards or Zach Moss and Hollywood Brown? Let me know the combination of players that you prefer. I honestly think we made the correct decision in going with a Zach Moss and a Hollywood Brown for that 2v2. David says, QB by committee, the new NFL. I'll say the only team that I'd imagine going quarterback by committee would be New Orleans. I mean, you can't say the 49ers are going to go quarterback by committee. That makes no sense whatsoever. They wouldn't pay that much to go out there and pay up for Trey Lance. There's a 0% chance that happens. Okay. You have James Conner. Okay, so you have a decent teardrop happening. We may end up getting... So if we were going to get a quarterback that was going to fall to us in the 11th, just kind of going through and hypothesizing on the players that could, someone that falls to this range a lot is actually going to be a Joe Burrow. And it would make a lot of sense to bring in Joe Burrow on this team, considering that we do have Jamar Chase here at the 5.08. So also we could get a DJ Chark, but I really want to try. No, it may make more sense to just test it out and try something new in the $10 league. That's a big reason why also I drafted. I'm on Underdog Fantasy throughout the day drafting all the time. I'm sure that a lot of y'all have seen me before just in a public lobby. I mean, if you just log on and you're drafting all of a sudden like 2 p.m. on just a random Tuesday, you're probably going to see Fantasy Flock Network out there drafting in some leagues. Just because I love doing it. At the same time, in those $5 drafts, I really like testing out some different draft strategies. I like trying out some different things that we can display in the live stream. Nick says, do you think you're doing another draft tonight? My man, thank you so much for coming out here and hanging out with us tonight. I will say, so we're going to end this draft probably around midnight. And for anybody who used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, I'm going to have a lot of draft guides to get out. So I would imagine that we're probably not going to be doing another draft tonight. We're going to be doing drafts every single night until the season starts. But I'd imagine this is probably going to be our last one for tonight. This is probably going to be our last one for tonight, my man. Okay, so after Hollywood Brown, we have just really no wide receivers going off the board. I think you actually have Hollywood here probably as the last receiver in that tier, which is why, I mean, maybe we were honestly kind of lucky to get Hollywood. Obviously, we're not going to be considering tight end in this range. I mean, even with, this is something that I have struggled with a lot, and this is something that I've had a problem with. Okay, Dallas Goedert, we don't have the temptation of drafting him in the 11th round, but a problem that I've had is whenever we have like a tight end like that falling to the 11th and we took Kelsey, I'm all of a sudden going, no, let me get him regardless. And also, we can end up going Stafford here because we have Robert Woods as well. I think, yeah, it would be fun to test out our 3 quarterback strategy. We're probably going to try to do that in either a $5 or a $10 draft. A $50 draft, I think we just go with what we know works. So instead, we're going to go with just literally the best player according to ADP, which fits this construction. We don't have a quarterback. We have a stack in here with a Robert Woods. So let's go and let's get a Matthew Stafford at the 1108. Let's scroll down real quick so everybody can see exactly what we have done so far. Now you're going to have Devin Singletary going to the 1109. Tuca says, run a $10 draft after this. My man, maybe we will. Maybe we will. Okay, Singletary goes at the 1109. Bryan Edwards goes at the 1110. I don't even know what we want falling to us with this next selection. I mean, it would be nice to get, I don't know if it, trying to think, would it be nice to get a Joe Burrow falling to us? Nick coming out with another donation. Thank you, my man, saying, no problem. Thanks for your dedication. No, my man, thank you so much for just coming out and hanging out with me every single day. Y'all have no idea how much fun I have in these live streams. Like, literally, my girlfriend's probably so annoyed because all I talk about every single day is like, I cannot wait till tonight. Let's get this live stream going. I want to live stream. I want to get those drafts going. But yeah, thank you so much. The reason they're so fun is because y'all come out here and y'all hang out with me in the live chat. Okay, so now we have Nelson Aguilar going. It looks like this is really slowing down. If we pull this back up, I mean, we may end up having to go with Burrow again. The problem is when we go with Kelsey, I really think it's hard to pay up for quarterback. When we take Kelsey, it's hard to pay up for quarterback. So if we go back-to-back QB here in the 11th and 12th rounds, I'm assuming that we're not going to have the chance because both of these teams only have one QB. Oh, actually, he does have Kyler, and he has Mahomes. So actually, maybe we end up having to drop Burrow. There's a chance we drop Burrow here. If not, Nyheim Hines may not even be that interesting. Maybe we would go with a receiver because we are weak at receiver. We only have 5 guys currently on this roster. Gerald Everett goes. So we really just have to get Burrow to pass the team that took Mahomes, which he probably will. So we're probably going to end up taking Burrow here as our quarterback too. And then we'll be done with the quarterback position. We'll be not looking to draft another tight end until one of the last rounds. Jan says, if Duvernay / Marcus Johnson / Goodwin. Oh my God. Yeah, my man. If they hit, I will just. How about this? If Devin Duvernay, Marcus Johnson, Marcus Goodwin, Colin Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, if they are all top 50 receivers in fantasy this year, I will hand over the Fantasy Flock Network to you. I will hand it over. I will hand it over. I'll hand over the keys to the ship, and you can run it from now on. I will say that if they are all top 50 receivers, Sir Dilly lets me know that we are on the clock in the Flock 20 Dynasty Draft. My man, thank you so much. I actually timed out earlier. It's my, I believe, second timeout of our Dynasty startup for our Flock 20 Patreon Dynasty League. So that's starting up right now. I'm not going to show you all the draft board on that. I do need to pull it up, and I need to make a selection right now because our last timeout gave us James White, which of course we're not excited about in the slightest. I think here we actually probably take, it's going to be a gross pick. We're going to take Hayden Hurst, but we are in the 25th round of a tight end premium startup. So we're going to go Hayden Hurst. Okay, Ripple says there are 5 spots left for the big dog. Mike says, looks like we're going to have a new person running the Fantasy Flock Network. That's going to be, well, I mean, clip that because I promise you, I will hand it over if they are all top 50 receivers because I know there's a 0% chance that happens. That's why I'm saying that. I know there's a 0% chance that happens. Okay, so I honestly really like this team so far. Like, let's go through. We have a lot of space to go through and just continue to get those running backs and receivers coming in. If we go up to the top of the draft, let's go and let's show what we have done so far for anybody just now coming into the stream. So we took Kelsey, Diggs, Woods, Swift, Chase, Mike Davis, Gross Pick, Chase Edmonds, DJ Chark, Zach Moss, Hollywood Brown, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow. I mean, I think that these were really this was great value at QB. I really do want to try out the strategy where we only draft 3 quarterbacks at the very end of the draft. Like we get Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston. We bring a couple of those guys in. That could be intriguing, but that's going to be something for a $5 draft. That's going to be something for a $10 draft to try out. I can't try that out in a $50 league. That'd be reckless. Okay, Ripple saying there's only 4 spots. There are 4 spots right now open for the big dog draft. I mean, how about this? If this live stream right now gets over 400 likes in the next 3 minutes, I will go over and I'll hop in a big dog draft. We'll hop in a big dog draft. If it gets over 400 likes in the next 3 minutes, which I can guarantee you, if everybody that has not dropped a like in the live stream right now drops one, we'll hit over 400 likes. I mean, that's a Mason Dodd guarantee. I know there are not 400 live viewers, but I promise you, I can see all the statistics with playbacks and everything with a live stream hub right now. That would happen. So we could hop in that big dog draft if that happens. But after we take Burrow, what we're kind of hoping makes it back to us is probably wide receiver. I know a lot of people probably assume that we are weaker at running back than we are receiver, but given this league format, I actually think that we should probably prioritize going with the receiver position over running back, to be honest. And at receiver, yeah, we have Diggs, we have Jamar. I guess, no, we're still strong at receiver. For whatever reason, I want to convince ourselves that we're weak at receiver when we go Kelsey in the first. But no, I mean, I think when we go Kelsey in the first. Okay, so it looks like we are going to get 400 likes on this live streams. Okay, so after this, we'll go through and we'll enter the after this we'll enter the big dog draft, and we'll wait around for a couple minutes to see if the big dog draft fills after this. So after this draft, I'll go over there and I'll hop in the big dog. If it's still filling, we'll go through and we'll hop in that. Okay, so now Evan Ingram at the 1307, but I can't hop in it right now just because, I mean, obviously I can't be in 2 drafts at once. If they're $50 and a $250 draft, I have to give them my full attention. I have to give them my full attention. I really have no other option. Okay, so here, let's just start bringing in receivers that we think can get some routes run, can get some targets going their direction. So this next guy is going to be a Sterling Shepard as our wide receiver 6. Yeah, so that's what I told you guys. I have a good idea how many people watching the live stream have not dropped a like at a certain point. So yeah, we'll get a big dog draft going after this. But guys, make sure if you have yet to use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, if you want me to be able to afford these big dog drafts, this partnership has to go well. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Make a $10 deposit. When you make a $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK, you can find the link in the description of the video. You can find it in the live chat. You can find it in the comment section. When you make that $10 deposit, you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You get our 2021 Dynasty Fantasy Football Rookie Draft Guide. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Tiers and Rankings. So you get so much. So make sure you're using promo code FLOCK. It helps us out a ton. And we'll go through and we'll get one going after this. We'll hop in the big dog after this. Even though I'll be up until 1 a.m. tonight. I'll be up until 1 a.m. doing this and sending out those draft guides. So please, if you have yet to use promo code FLOCK, if you have yet to subscribe to the channel, make sure you are doing that ASAP. Make sure you're doing that ASAP. Okay, Ramondre Stevenson goes at the 13-11. I think that we have already had 4 running backs on this team, so we're only going to be drafting 2 more running backs. I don't necessarily... Freddie says, if you win $1 million, are you going to buy Dogecoin? No, I'm not buying Dogecoin if we win $1 million. I'll tell you that. We're not buying that. I'll buy some Bitcoin if we win $1 million. I'll buy some Bitcoin. Okay, so we have Matt Ryan at the 13-12. Let me switch this over. So from here, we're really just running back, receiver, tight end. And honestly, I'm not even going to be looking at tight end in this range. So we're just running back, receiver from here on out. Okay, so flocking up my dude. He can go in a couple different directions here. I mean, he only has one quarterback. Maybe he goes QB. Obviously, that would be beneficial to us. I don't know who's available currently at QB. So, yeah, no, I doubt he reaches on a Ryan Fitzmagic. So, we're probably going to see a receiver or a running back go off the board. So, he goes Amaro St. Brown. Now, J.K. Ooper, I'd imagine that he maybe has to go tight end. Or, yeah, he definitely can't go running back, I think, at this point. He already has 5 guys. So, I'd imagine that we're actually going to get a running back falling to us. Because when you have 5 guys and you only have 1 QB, 1 tight end, 6 receivers, I'd imagine that taking a running back there is probably not going to be advantageous. Of course, I'm kind of saying this knowing that we need a running back. So let's see what he decides to do. He goes Gronk. Okay, so we're going to go J.D. McKissick here as our running back 5, getting someone in that we know can see some random spike weeks at the running back position. So yeah, let's go and let's get J.D. McKissick. Let's move this back over. Okay, so we drafted from the 108. Let's scroll this down. And every time we see a tight end, every time we see a quarterback go off the board, that is money in our ears. That is money in our ears saying, I mean, we have a much better shot of actually going out here and making some noise. So KJ Hamler. Hamler obviously is intriguing, but I just think that we really need to go with the running back when we only have 4 guys. And let me show y'all again. We passed on running back through the first 3 rounds. When we go Kelsey, Diggs, Woods, I think it's such an elite start, to be honest. I'm not even going to be crying about it. But we're just playing catch up at running back from here on out. So J.D. McKissick makes sense. We're going to be getting 1 more running back, 2 more receivers, and 1 more tight end with this build. Caden says, where's Underdog's headquarters? I believe in Brooklyn. Let me look this up. Let me look it up. I know they have it on. I know they have it listed. Let me look it up. I believe Brooklyn, but I could be misremembering. Okay, yeah, so we have a little bit of a wide receiver run here happening, which obviously is not ideal considering the fact that, I mean, we really need to be bringing in some receivers. Yeah, so they're in Brooklyn, New York. Underdog is located in Brooklyn. Okay, so let's put this back over. James White at the 14-11. James White would have been someone, honestly, I probably would have gone with a running back again in the 15th round if we would have had the opportunity to go with a James White. But from here, I mean, it's honestly, it's kind of crazy. You know my brain's broken whenever I see someone taking long on a 30-second clock. A 30-second clock is so small to begin with. And whenever I'm not seeing those picks fly off the board, I'm kind of getting antsy. I'm kind of scratching myself going, okay, let's get this going. Let's get this going. Let me see who I'm going to be on the clock with the next selection. But we have Austin Hooper at the 15:01. Tevin Coleman at the 15:02. This is the latest I've seen Giovanni Bernard fall in a while. I'm saying this knowing that Gio probably has a very small chance of making it back to us. I mean, we have 3 teams before us with only 4 running backs. This is maybe the range where we actually end up deciding to go with a tight end. I mean, we do have Kelsey, but obviously I think it's going to be the last tier of tight ends that we can really be looking at in the 15th round. We're also obviously done at quarterback. Yeah, so I think we're probably going to go with either a Cole Kmet, an Adam Troutman, or a Hunter Henry, whoever's left with us. Yeah, so you actually have Isaac taking Giovanni Bernard. That is not surprising whatsoever. I think he actually had 5 running backs, so maybe these teams right before us even have to go running back when they only have 4 on the team. Yeah, they each have 2 tight ends, so we're going to get a tight end that we like, probably making it back to us. And I doubt they go quarterback considering they have 2. If they went quarterback, that'd be fantastic for us. Okay, so Diami Brown goes at the 15:07. Okay, so this is how I think we actually play a Travis Kelce team. I think that we did a much better job with this Travis Kelce build than we did the previous one. I think if we go through and if we highlight what we did with this build, rather than going through and taking an elite level quarterback. I think with an elite level quarterback, yes, they have their advantages, but the problem is you just simply can't be taking them on a team where you go with the tight end in the first round. So if we go through and we show what we have done so far with this construction, we took Kelsey in the first, Diggs, Robert Woods, and then of course we're desperate for running back here, so we're taking the falling knife in a DeAndre Swift. Obviously you have concerns. We're taking another falling player in a Jamar Chase. We're getting some disgusting projected volume at running back that I don't recommend many people doing. I've only drafted Mike Davis in about 1.5% of leagues. I think that was the stat. And then we have Chase Edmonds at the 708. This is something I definitely recommend people doing. Then Chark, Moss, Hollywood. And then instead of drafting one of those elite level quarterbacks like a Kyler and having to pass on to Jamar Chase, instead we wait until the 10th, 11th round and we actually get stacks in here. We stack a Robert Woods with Matthew Stafford. We stack a Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow. And then Sterling Shepard, J.D. McKissick, Cole Kmet. So yeah, I think it's a lot better to just go through and get the tight end that's going at the very end of the draft compared to the tight end that's going to be going in the range of like a Dallas Goedert and Irv Smith. I think the opportunity cost is too high when you do have a Kelsey on that team to go with a tight end in that range. So yeah, I think Cole Kmet's actually going to be the much better bet. Okay, so now Malcolm Brown at the 1601, and let's switch this back over. Okay, so now we can no longer be looking at quarterback. Obviously, it would be nice to see one go off the board before us. Yeah, so Zach Wilson goes. So that is nice. When we're on the clock, okay, so Christian Kirk, is there news on Christian Kirk with why he's falling? Okay, so preseason canceled for the Cardinals. So we need to have one more running back and two more receivers on this team. So if we need two more receivers, I think we go with Christian Kirk here. We're completely fine with the value of the 1605. It's going to be someone running routes. It's going to be someone seeing targets. So yeah, let's get Christian Kirk, the exact profile of a receiver that we need. Obviously, it's not the best seeing Rondale Moore take every slot snap in Arizona. Of course, we'd love to have Christian Kirk at least a small role in that team on the slot. I'm sorry, I just had a wicked yawn that I had to go through. I mean, it's a midnight where I'm at. We're powering through this right now. But it would be nice to see Christian Kirk getting some slot snaps there. But it is what it is. And we're just going to have to move on. We're going to have to go, okay, well, I guess we don't always get what we want. But Christian Kirk, regardless, very similar to what you're doing with a player like a Cole Beasley. Very similar to what you're doing with someone like a Gabriel Davis and Emmanuel Sanders. You're going, okay, well, this is a receiver that's going to be running a lot of routes on one of the best offenses in football. So let's just go and let's get a Christian Kirk. Okay, Zach Ertz at the 1609. I definitely prefer the combination of Cole Kmet and Christian Kirk over one of these receivers in Zach Ertz. I think this is like best case scenario. I honestly probably prefer Christian Kirk over all three of these. I definitely prefer him over all three of these receivers. Now, Carlos Hyde, David Johnson. So the running backs that we're going to be looking at in the 17th round, they're going to be disgusting. We've already made a mistake in going through and having to wait this long on running back. We've done it every single draft tonight where you don't want to. I think the last running back tier that we would probably be wanting to look at is in the 16th round. Like if we could from now on shake it out where our last running back pick is going to be a David Johnson, a Carlos Hyde, a Malcolm Brown, it's probably going to be much better. So it's maybe a mistake for me to be going with a Christian Kirk in the 16th. And instead, possibly we should be looking to go with someone like a Carlos Hyde here and then just going and getting a Dwayne Eskridge instead at the end of the draft or even a Kadarius Toney. Maybe that's a mistake. Jesse says, can I get the draft guide without being on Instagram or Twitter? Yes, definitely, guys. So y'all know whenever you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you just got to shoot me a DM with your email to confirm, and I'll send that draft guide like that. Just send the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. That way I can make sure I can go through and confirm. So if you go to the description of the video, if you don't have social media, first off, congrats. You are doing something that is way smarter than the rest of us. But all you have to do is click the link that says join our free group chat here. Then from there, you just join. You don't need a credit card. You don't need an email. You don't need anything like that. You just can join that. You can click my icon. You can shoot me a DM that way. And if you want to leave the group chat right after, you can leave the group chat right after. It's just a fantasy football group chat. There are like 5,000 people in there. And of course, you can turn off notifications. You can do whatever you want with it. But that's going to be an easy way that you can just go through. And you don't have to like set up some advanced account. You literally just choose your local nickname on what you want people to call you. Okay, so John coming out says, grade my draft, please, at the 109. Yes, sir, I'll be happy to grade your draft. Let me get one more pick in here before we go over and do so. However, Adam Troutman now going in the 17th round whenever we were taking him in the 13th previously before the injury. It sucks to see. It really sucks to see, but it is what it is. You gotta live. I mean, we have the Travis Etienne injury. We have the Cam Akers. We have the Adam Troutman. Can't cry about it, though. Can't cry about it. From here at running back, it's just so gross. I don't even know who we would take. To be completely honest, I don't even know who we would draft a running back here. Like, there's no difference between these three players for me. But there's no difference between the wide receivers. I mean, I know this is a very boring, quote-unquote, piece of analysis, which is not analysis at all. Let's just take Jerick McKinnon. I have no reasoning for it. We need another running back. We're going to take Jerick McKinnon. And let's go through and let's look at the 109. I'll actually hide my camera so everybody can see the entire draft board. So, Jones, Chubb, Montgomery, Mahomes. I will say that what I have found is when you pass on receivers in the first 3 rounds of drafts like this, it is going to be so hard to make up for receiver after that taking Mahomes in the 4th, in my opinion, I think that was a very bad decision. I am fine with you wanting to go 3 running backs out of the gate, but I think when you have the opportunity to go with a Julio Jones at the 404, you kind of have to do it. Because if we look at the team after this, Odell, Laviska, Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney, Michael Pittman. Yeah, you got a lot of wide receivers that could cycle through, but at the same time, we're not necessarily that excited about it. Robert Tonyan, Devin Singletary. I'll say once you have Devin Singletary and you have 4 running backs in that range, I think we still need to understand that we are so far out ahead of the rest of the field at running back. We're trying to catch up at receiver. So going with a Phillip Lindsay, I don't necessarily know exactly what that does for us. I just think, okay, I'll say this. This is something I'm very confident with. When you go through and when you have 5 running backs before the 12th round and you drafted 3 of them with your first 3 picks, you can not continue to take running backs after round 12. It's going to be a 5 running back build. You need to go through and instead you need to pick up an extra wide receiver slot because you're going to be behind at the position. And you have to start 3 receivers in this league, and it's going to be a best ball league. So I like some of the players that you took in the ranges that you had them. But I think this Ty Johnson, you needed to go wide receiver here. That's going to be my main takeaway from that draft is I think you had to go receiver. Okay. So let me now pull this back up. So at the receiver position, we're pretty much just looking for anybody that's going to run routes and see targets. F it. It'll be Darius Slayton. Yes, we have Sterling Shepard. It is what it is. We're going to take Slayton. And now let's go over and actually, we can wait around because obviously there are still more picks to be made. Let's wait around. There'll be more picks to be made. And then we'll go and we'll hop in a big dog draft right after this. Guys, it's going to be a $250 draft. If you want to get into the big dog draft, make sure you go to the lobby on Underdog Fantasy. Go to the big dog. It's a $250 buy-in. That is where we're going to be right after this draft. Okay, so Quez Watkins, Alan Lazard, Darius Slayton. Okay, Isaac coming out with a donation says, all right, my last draft for a while at the 104. Yeah, let's go through. Let's check out Isaac's draft. We have to check out Isaac's. Guys, okay, so let's go through Isaac out here in every single one of these live streams. Okay, so running back, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Michael Carter, Melvin Gordon, Nyheim Hines, Giovanni. Okay, so I think that this Gio value, based on what we have seen his role is going to be in Tampa now, that's fantastic value on Gio. I think that your running back room is extremely strong with the prices that you went out there and actually did. Okay, actually, so this is the wrong team that we're looking at. No, yeah, the 105. We're looking at the right team. We know what team we're looking at. Yeah, so I think that's a fantastic running back room. At receiver, A-Rob, DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel, Will Fuller, Marvin Jones, Jamison Crowder, Brashad Perry. I don't necessarily know if you have enough receivers. How many receivers did you draft in this team? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that if you're going to go with the 7 receiver build, we honestly probably would prefer having a better receiver room through the 14th round. I think you're probably a little light on receiver here. Where did you really invest this capital into? A tight end, you took Hawkins. I think Hawkinson at the 505. This may have been the pick that I don't really like. And if I'm just, of course, really nitpicking here, I think Hawkinson at the 505. This is something I'm not a fan of, to be honest. Irv Smith in the 11th. And then at quarterback, you get 3 guys in Cousins, Darnold, Wentz. I think that it's a average team overall. Maybe I'm just a little salty in that I don't like Derrick Henry at the 105, and that's why I'm looking at it through a wrong frame. But yeah, I'm just not necessarily in love with that draft. Okay. Well, let me go and switch this back over to a face cam, and let's go. And you know what we're probably going to do right now? Is I'm trying to think if it would make sense for, no, I'm not going to do that. I was going to end the live stream and then get a second one going just for this big dog draft, because this is going to be so far on that not many people are going to see this big dog draft, but let's hop in right now. Okay, so we are waiting for one person to get in this big dog draft. So we will wait around for like 2 or 3 minutes to see if anybody wants to hop in this big dog draft. I'm not going to be able to wait for like 10 minutes, guys. It's already past midnight where I'm at. I have to send out a ton of draft guides tonight. So let's wait 2 or 3 minutes. This is a $250 fantasy draft. And we are going for it. Oh my God. We are going to be. Dear Lord. Good karma right here. This is good karma. This is what I call good karma. Wasn't necessarily dying to get into a draft past midnight. Wasn't necessarily really wanting to come out here and grind this out. This is why you don't give up. This is why you put those hours in. We're getting the 102. We're getting the 102. Lock in Dalvin Cook. And let's crush some people. Let's crush them. I mean, we have a couple members of the flock out here. Let's show this off real quick. Okay, so we got Chapman out here. We got Derek out here as well. And I believe that maybe is really the only names that I'm looking at that I recognize. Okay, so a $250 draft. Let's go. Boys, I am ready. I am ready for this. Swanning, go wild here. Go wild. Take Dalvin. Take Kamara. Take Henry. Take Zeke. Take Kelsey. Take anything. Anything but CMC. Obviously, they're taking CMC, but a man can dream. A man can dream, right? Maybe they want to go creative. This is a $250 draft, guys. This is $250 buy-in. Not $250 in the pot. If you just do some math, $250. There's probably more given the fact that Underdog is pumping money in. Probably going to go Dalvin here. Not probably going to go Dalvin. We are going Dalvin. Let's get this going. Let's get this going right now. I am excited, guys. Okay. And also, the pressure's on. We got a couple shields in here. We got Dome Favors with the highly experienced shield. Not just experienced. Highly experienced. God knows what you need to get this shield. And we got Jay-Z Rucker out here. So I'm assuming both of these guys were playing Underdog at a decent clip last football season. Now we have Devontae Adams at the 104. I mean, I think that you're probably going to see Devontae Adams go a little bit higher in these high-stakes leagues. This is a $250 fantasy draft. This is a $250 fantasy draft, everyone. Okay. So Henry at the 105. Mike says, damn, can't believe he took Christian McCaffrey. Neither can I, my man. Neither can I. I mean, what a jerk to come out here and to take Christian McCaffrey like that from us. I mean, does he have any sympathy at all to the cause whatsoever? Does he not understand what we are trying to do here? Does he not know what we are trying to accomplish? We are trying to win $100,000. That's not happening when this team takes Christian McCaffrey from us. It's just rude. Isaac coming out with his maybe 20th donation to the live stream tonight, saying Hawkinson was one of the 9 tight ends ever to get 100 plus targets in his second season. And year 3 is when the tight ends break out. Lions top wide receivers are Perriman and Tyrell Williams. My man, I understand the thought process with TJ Hawkinson. Trust me, there's a reason that I have Hawkinson ranked ahead of Kyle Pitts. I really do like Hawkinson. He was the top 5 tight end last year in his second year. And obviously that never happens at the position, but still, I just think that it's a little hard to accomplish when you're giving up the opportunity cost of receiver. It's hard. It's hard. And that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to more so nitpick your team because, of course, you know exactly what you're doing. You're out in a ton of these drafts. And I'm just trying to figure out anything that I would do that would be potentially a little different That's just like the one thing that I came up with. Michael says you got sniped at 2. Yeah, I mean, I thought we had it on lock. I thought we had been keeping it under wraps that Christian McCaffrey was a pretty good football player, that he was probably someone you wanted at the running back position. I don't know how he heard of our number one sleeper in a Christian McCaffrey. It's disappointing to say the least, but it is what it is. Now, Jonathan Taylor falls to the 205. Fantastic value with Jonathan Taylor. And what's fun, guys, this is a $250 public draft. So this is not just with people in the live chat right now. This is because obviously if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, so all those people that join from the live draft, they have access to my rankings. They have access to my tiers because they use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and made a $10 deposit. But here, these people are random. These people don't have my rankings. These people don't have my draft guide. So there are going to be some different things that we can maybe go through and switch up. And obviously, a lot of these people probably aren't watching the live stream. A lot of them probably have no idea who Fantasy Flock is right here, which is, of course, fantastic in terms of being able to see a little bit of a different draft board. So one mistake that we have made is when we're going through and when we are drafting from the 101, the 102s, we really need to understand that we're not going to be at a position where we have to be reaching on a running back. We can really let them fall to us. Now, if we do have a Mixon falling, we're probably going to take a Joe Mixon, to be honest. Like, we're probably going to take a Joe Mixon if he falls here. Okay, so yeah, let's pull this up. And we know we do not want to enter autopilot mode. This is the last thing we want to do. I think Waller goes. So I'll say wide receiver is going to be at a premium in these high stakes drafts. In these high stakes drafts, you're going to see receiver going a little earlier than other positions. Personally, I am very high on Joe Mixon. I know a lot of people are worried about him. We have a video coming out very soon on why I think that Joe Mixon is a very strong pick in fantasy this season. So we're starting this draft off. This is the second $250 draft that we have started off. Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon. So hopefully we can mix it up. I want to pull up real quick. I'm going to pull up the other $250 draft that we did, and I can show you all the draft board for that and kind of see where we can go a little bit different because obviously I don't want the exact same team. So let's go through and let me pull this up. Okay, so the other Dalvin Cook team that we ended up drafting. Yeah, we took Joe Mixon at the 211, and then we ended up going Keenan Allen in the third. Yeah, and I remember in the third, we had the option to go between CeeDee Lamb or Keenan Allen, and we chose Allen. And then CeeDee Lamb went directly after the 303. So I have them in the same tier. I do have Keenan Allen ranked higher. Let's see where Swaney goes. He goes Lamb. We're going to go receiver. I think when we pass on a receiver in the second round, we're really playing with fire if we're going to continue to punt the position. So we're going to go with Keenan Allen here in the third. We're going to have the exact same start that we had in our other $250 big dog draft. So let me go through and let me show y'all. Okay, we had Dome Favors out in the other draft as well. Okay, so Dome Favors, maybe he watches the channel. Maybe this is a crusher and he just literally makes a living from doing these fantasy drafts. Of course, this is scary now that I'm pulling up this draft board and I'm seeing him in both leagues. I know a lot of people want to say that shields don't matter. I don't necessarily know if I can go there. I think it's probably very scary to see someone just hanging out in the $250 leagues constantly, unless he has like Bitcoin money or something. I think it's probably pretty damn scary. So if I go over, let me show y'all this draft board. I'll expand it out real quick. This is the draft that we had in the other live stream. In the other $250 draft, this is what we ended up doing. So y'all can see this. I know that's probably an eyesore for y'all. But at the 102, we went Dalvin, Mixon, Keenan, literally the exact same start. And then we ended up trying to set up a 49er stack that failed. We went Ayuk, Debo, and Trey Sermon later on in the draft. And then we thought we were going to be able to get Lance in the 8th, and it failed. Maybe we try the same thing and see if it works this time. Maybe we try something different. But I want to look at where Dome Favors is going. Because, guys, if you have the highly experienced shield here, this is someone that I think he knows what he's doing. Let me look at his draft in the other. Let me look at his draft in the other room. Yeah, his draft in the other league looked really strong. This is someone that definitely knows what he's doing, guys. I mean, he's out here. He's out here crushing. He's a regular. We have to be worried about this. I am happy that we're on the other side of the draft room. Now, after we go Keenan Allen, thank God we go Keenan Allen over George Kittle, because when you're seeing a wide receiver run like this, I mean, you kind of know that these high-stakes drafters, they are really pushing up the receiver position. Kyler Murray at the 312 to stack with Hopkins. Of course, we love to see that. I mean, Kyler wouldn't have been someone we were considering at the 4-5 turn. Love to see Kyler Murray go there at the 312. Not because I'm saying that's a good pick, more so because I'm saying it's pushing value down the board to us. Love seeing that. Jack says he is in a puppy draft with me right now as well. Okay, yeah, so if this guy is sitting and he's multi-tabling, like if he's in a bunch of different drafts at the same time, this guy's a crusher. This guy's a crusher. He probably makes a living off of Underdog Fantasy. We have to be worried about this player right here. We definitely have to be worried about that. Thank you for letting me know that. We have some in-depth scouting out here to figure out who the regulars out here, who are the professionals on Underdog Fantasy, because obviously I can't call myself a professional. Unless we made a pure living just off of Underdog Fantasy winnings and that was it, I mean, then we could call yourself a professional. But if I'm making a living off of live streaming and doing Patreon and everything like that, it's not like I'm a professional fantasy football player. Where this guy, I mean, I don't think he has a YouTube channel. I think that he's just a straight up professional fantasy football player. He's probably significantly smarter than me, to be completely honest. Okay, so now let's go through and try to figure out where we're going to go after this. So he goes Julio Jones the 4-5. So very standard. It looks like he's kind of going off ADP. So now we're probably going to, the thing is, receivers in this range are just in the dead zone. We've talked about this before. Higgins goes to the 407. Maybe we end up taking a Mahomes at the 411, just understanding that Mahomes very rarely falls this far. So Mahomes goes to the 408. Honestly, kind of happy to see that. I would love to go receiver here. So Swaney, between us, he actually has Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Christian McCaffrey, and he only has one receiver. So I'd imagine that he's going to be looking to double tap the position at the 4-5 turn. So I know a lot of people are going to want to see some of those running backs and want me to go with a running back, but I think honestly we're probably going to have to go receiver. So Deontay Johnson goes. We're going to have like the same exact team, I think. Chapman says, geez, can't complain about my start at the 111. Let's go through and let's check out Chapman's team at the 111. Guys, if you're just now joining the live stream right now, this is a $250 buy-in draft. This is a $250 draft that we have going. Okay, so JC Rucker. He goes David Montgomery. Okay, so now looks like we're definitely not going David Montgomery. He would have been the one running back that I would have been like, F it, let's draft 3 running backs on this team. But instead, we're going to have the same exact start as the last draft. Actually, Brandon, I did not see this hamstring injury. Okay, he's expected to be fine by next week. We're going to take him because I want vengeance. Vengeance for that 49er stack that we almost completed in the last $250 draft. We're coming out for it. We're coming out for it. We're going to take Brandon Ayuk there at the 411. I'll see where Swaney goes. I'd imagine that he goes receiver. And I think based on how this room is, guys, we kind of have to be pushing the receiver position here. Yeah, he goes Jamar Chase at the 412. Now, if we're looking at between Claypool and Jerry Jeudy, who would we be going? Jerry Jeudy definitely rising in drafts. I don't think this ADP actually reflects where you're going to be expecting him to go in about a coming week. We've been seeing Jerry Jeudy actually go in the 4th round some. Not a massive Jeudy fan given the situation that he's in. Kyle Pitts goes. With Kyle Pitts going, I think that we also can make a bet here. Okay, so we're making a couple different bets. We can also go through and stack the Minnesota Vikings offense, potentially with an Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, I don't love Adam Thielen, though. We're going to go Thielen. I don't love it. Adam Thielen, I think he is very dependent on touchdowns, and at the same time, I think you could see Justin Jefferson getting a larger role in the red zone. We're going to go Thielen at the 502. We're starting this draft off with Dalvin, Mixon, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, and Adam Thielen. It's a $250 draft. Let's go. Let's get this going. Let's get some energy going. Guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream right now, go down there, drop that like. Who else is consistently showing you exactly what they think with what they can do in fantasy football. $250 down there on the line. Make sure y'all are dropping that like. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We do these live streams every single night. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you know when we're live, or you're possibly going to miss out on the live stream. And instead, you're just going to see them as a video later on. Yeah, so here I think that we kind of make that stack going with the Minnesota Vikings offense. We can potentially, at this point, go with a Kirk Cousins. We could also set up a Justin Herbert. We could go with the Trey Lance. And what I really wish we would have done is that theory that I have of potentially just drafting 3 quarterbacks at the end of the draft. Maybe it makes a little more sense here, because also this is a league where you actually have 20 rounds instead of 18. So maybe, I wish we would have tried that strategy. Oh my God. I wish we would have gotten in a $5 league and tried that out before this. Okay, Dak Prescott goes to the 507. Okay, this doesn't affect us too much because, I mean, Dak Prescott wouldn't have been available here anyway. But interesting to see him go at the 507 ahead of Josh Allen. Teams are willing to go out there and reach to get their stacks in these high stakes drafts. I mean, teams are willing to go out there and get those stacks. We got Lamar Jackson at the 511 right after Mark Andrews gets selected. So that's pretty much a pick that, okay, so let's go and let's check out Chapman's start here. So Chapman went Barkley, Robinson at running back, Diggs, Cooper at receiver, and then Lamar Jackson at QB. I will say, Chapman, I really like the start. Given the fact that some teams in this contest tournament actually had James Robinson later in the draft, like they had got James Robinson in like the 10th instead, I think that I'm a little less excited to draft a James Robinson in this league, whereas I think I would actually, in this particular format, possibly take a J.K. Dobbins over James Robinson. That way, if we get to the tournament, you're not going up against James Robinson teams that got him in the 8th round, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is interesting, though. That is interesting. Okay, Party Touch Thought says, Mason, be careful with waiting too long on quarterback. My man, when we're in these tournaments, I'm trying to go for the most upside possible. While yes, I mean, getting those stacks is obviously advantageous. Nobody advocates for that more than I do. At the same time, you have to be doing it at a great value if we want to be just getting the most upside possible from those stacks. Okay, so now we have Boyd, Devonta Smith, Michael Gallup. I'll switch this over. Darrell Henderson still falling in this draft. At what point would we have to take Darrell Henderson? Would we have to draft him at the 6'11"? I'm trying to think. I'm honestly probably going to try to punt QB here. It's so risky. It would be so risky in the $250 league when I have not tried this strategy out in a $5 or a $10 draft yet. Okay, Darrell Henderson goes. So, I mean, we don't even have to kind of think about that. And I think that when we have Dalvin, when we have Joe Mixon, we are so locked in on those two running backs that we are continuing to just smash receiver here. I think we're going to continue to go with receivers. So let's see where Andrew goes after Darrell Henderson. Deebo Samuel. Okay, Deebo Samuel, I don't want to say it's the end of the world. It would have been nice to get the double stack in there with the Brandon Ayuk. And our guy, Laviska Shenault, goes. Shenault goes. That sucks. We are going to get Kenny Golladay coming in here. Let me read the most recent report. Let's just get Kenny Golladay. Maybe someone that gives us a spike week during the playoff stretch. So yeah, we're going to go with Kenny Golladay. I think that while, yes, y'all know I love two of these running backs in particular, it's just very, very hard when we have Dalvin and Mixon. We have Dalvin and Mixon. It's hard to go with those guys. So let's see where Swaney goes. So he has CMC, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then at receiver, he has Lamb, Chase, and Sutton, and he has Kyle Pitts at tight end. I honestly prefer our team. Even though he has Christian McCaffrey, I prefer our team. I really like how we built this team so far. And y'all know who we're looking for from here. Actually, there is something we could do that's a little intriguing. So Trey Sermon goes off. Here's my thought process. We could get a Mike Williams. And if we're going Mike Williams, we could potentially get a Justin Herbert in round 8. And we would get a double stack with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Justin Herbert. Or we could get our guy Kareem Hunt. I may hate myself later on. It may not work out, but we're going for it. I have Kareem Hunt in so many leagues. We have Mike Williams in very few. I'm afraid that wide receiver is just going to continue to get pounded in this league with these high stakes players. So let's get Mike Williams. I love my man Kareem Hunt, but I think this sets us up nicely with where we have access to an elite double stack a little later on. And we already have the running back volume here. We have the running back volume guaranteed. We don't have to reach on it. So yeah, we have these wide receivers going at this point when we draft 5 receivers in a row. Keenan, Ayuk, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Mike Williams. We're not done drafting a receiver. I mean, in this format where there's 20 rounds and it's best ball and you have to start 3, we can continue to draft them. Yeah, Kareem Hunt goes to the 706 by Derek. I really like that pick. And trust me, I almost let my emotions get to me. I think that Mike Williams was the correct selection given what we could be looking at later on in this draft and the upside that we may have that we were setting up from a construction standpoint. But I almost let my emotions get to me, and I almost took a Kareem Hunt. I almost took him. But Mike Williams in a best ball format where you're not going to have to try to figure out when you're going to start him, when he has that extremely high average depth of target, when you know he can give you those spike weeks, I think Mike Williams is going to be fine to go and try to set that stack up with a Justin Herbert. Okay, Liam says, how much was this league? This is a $250 buy-in league. It's a $250 buy-in. So we have some real stakes on the line. So guys, let me remind everyone, when you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you support this network. You support me live streaming real money fantasy drafts, high stakes drafts every single night. And you make that $10 deposit and you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Rankings. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Tiers. And you help the channel tremendously. So please make sure you are going down there, making that deposit to Underdog Fantasy. And here we have a team deciding to reach on Justin Herbert to get him at the 709, significantly ahead of his ADP, which sucks. And now that selection, I probably regret. I probably would rather go back and erase it and get a Kareem Hunt going at the 702. So that does suck. That really does suck. Oh my God. That really does suck. I mean, I'm not going to cry about it too much. He had Austin Eckler. It's not like the Trey Lance situation all over again, where Trey Lance, there was no reason for that to happen. Here, I guess you can say there's a small reason. I mean, at least tease us a little and let him get to the 8th round. I mean, you have Russell Wilson going at the 803. Regardless, I think bringing in receivers is going to make a lot of sense in this format. So let's go through and let's get it going. Food Jack and him says, I wish I lived in a state that could use Underdog. Yeah, guys, I am sorry. There are some states that cannot use Underdog Fantasy, given the fact that, I mean, sports betting is getting rolled out in the United States, obviously on a state-by-state level. So I think Washington, Louisiana, Nevada, and there's one other one that can't. There's one other one that can't. But I know Washington, Louisiana, Nevada, those are like the 3 main ones that can't. Okay, so Cooks at the 805. Let's switch this back over. Let's look at best player available according to ADP. Okay, so Michael Thomas goes. I was honestly really hoping that Michael Thomas is going to make it to the 8-9 turn here. Actually, given the running backs that are falling, I'm kind of happy with our selection. A.J. Dillon goes. Never mind. Screw it. Screw it. I mean, of course, I was going to really like A.J. Dillon if we could have got him there. Okay, so Michael Pittman. Andrews only had 1 running back and 6 receivers. He has Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Odell, Deebo Samuel, Corey Davis. So Andrew is going extremely heavy receiver. Let's see what he does with this next selection. I mean, if he continues to push the receiver position, we may be monopolizing receiver with a few teams and a few teams only. Okay, come on. I'm so intrigued to see what he does here. Look at this receiver room. He goes Elijah Moore. Darnell Mooney goes off. Are we doing it? No, you know this team has to. Swaney has to take a receiver here. I don't care. The receivers are in the same tier. We're going to take Damian Harris. Damian Harris is going to slide up ADP. I do not love Damian Harris. This is one of the few leagues we're drafting him in. But I think considering the fact that ADP hasn't really adjusted with the Sony Michel trade and the $250 big dog drafts, we're just going to take Damian Harris to the 811. Yeah, let's get Damian Harrison there at the 811. And Tom Brady goes to the 812. I love what we're doing here. I love what we're doing. We're getting our guy. We're getting our guy. I feel it in my... Spoke too soon. Never mind. We're not getting Trey Lance. Then we were getting Trey Lance come in here. Then we were getting the stack with Brandon Ayuk. And so we're going to go with another receiver. We're not going Raheem Mostert. We're going to go with a Curtis Samuel instead. Let's bring in the receivers here. We're going to go and we're going to not try to match Andrew because obviously Andrew's taking it to a completely different level. But let's go get another receiver. And this is a $250 real money fantasy draft. So if you think that you can come out and you can beat me in fantasy football, my dudes, do I have the offer for you? Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Make a $10 deposit. Come out, draft in real money fantasy drafts with me in these live streams. And you can come. And this is going to be a league with an insane league pot here. So Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon in the first, second round. And then just receiver after that. Keenan, Ayuk, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Mike Williams, Damian Harris, and Curtis Samuel. So yeah, just slamming in receivers in this range. I mean, obviously it sucks when we're not getting the stacks that we wanted. Maybe I should have gone. Maybe we should have gone with the Trey Lance over Damian Harris. Let me know what y'all are thinking of that. Let me know what y'all are thinking about that. Honestly, I'm not going to complain about that too much. If I really wanted Lance, like if we had Deebo Samuel on this team as well and we had the double stack, I would have definitely taken Lance over Damian Harris at the 811. That would have been a pick that I would have made without really questioning it. But like I said, guys, I think with the expanded player pool at the quarterback position, it's going to be more viable to draft 3 quarterbacks instead here. I don't want to say it's ideal, but as a fallback, it is something we can do. It is something we can do to draft Teddy, Jameis, Carson Wentz in almost the last 3 rounds. Okay, so yeah. It is, Michael says, when do you think Trey Lance is going to start? So I've been saying this time and time again, Trey Lance is 100% the starting quarterback by week 4. 100% the starting quarterback by week 4. I will say that it's more likely that he starts in week 2 or week 3, but he's 100% the starting quarterback by week 4. Okay, so Russell Gage, Jacoby Myers. And honestly, I don't even know what we want to be seeing go off the board at this point. Maybe seeing receivers go off would be nice. Zach Moss at the 912. But the thing is, in 20 rounds, we can continue to draft receiver, as gross as it sounds. Matt Ryan at the 1001. This team here, Baby Balls, is really willing to go out there and reach to get a stack. So he reached on a Kyler in the 3rd to get DeAndre Hopkins, and he reaches on a Matt Ryan at the 1001 to get a Calvin Ridley. Trust me, I am all about going for those stacks. Y'all know that I am. But I think when you're reaching like that, I don't necessarily know if you're getting the most out of the stack. Like, I don't know if you're getting the most upside possible to you. I don't necessarily love that idea, to be completely honest. Okay, so Mike Gesicki at the 1004. So it does suck. We do not have a tight end yet. I will say that we do not have a tight end yet. Dallas Goedert at the 1005. So it looks like tight ends are getting soaked up. Tyler Higbee at the 1006. So this is a brutal run for our current roster. Let's switch this over real quick. We have 6 receivers. I want to see. Okay, so who is the... Andrew drafted another receiver on the way out. He drafted Rondale Moore. Andrew has 1 running back and 8 receivers, and that's it. This is a $250 draft. Let's see what he does. Does he take Michael Carter? We don't have a quarterback, and we don't have a tight end just yet. Obviously, I don't think we can consider going a tight end anytime soon. What is Andrew doing? I have no idea what he's going to do here. He goes tears. What is Andrew doing? Just rookie receiver after rookie receiver. 3 rookie receivers in a row here. The receiver position has gotten disgusting. Do we go... We're not going Joe Burrow. We can get Burrow at the 1102. So do we go Carter or Ronald Jones? Obviously, Carter's ahead of him in ADP. But a big thing is, I mean, Carter currently looks like he is. That could be a bad pick. That could be a very bad pick, Michael Carter at the 10-11. Maybe the correct pick was going Ronald Jones. It was definitely between one of those running backs. A 30-second clock, $250 buy-in. It's scary. It is definitely a scary draft pick to be making. Irv Smith goes to the 10-12. So, yeah, tight end is dried the hell up. We're not considering tight end whatsoever. So, Swain here's just completely punting receiver. This team, I don't want to say it's dead in this league, but it's very hard to come back. When you only draft 3 receivers through the first 10 rounds, especially on a CMC team, I just think that going Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Trey Sermon there doesn't make much sense. Thinking out loud here, if I were to take, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. We're not doing it. We're just going to take a Joe Burrow here. We don't have a stack with any of the Cincinnati Bengals receivers. Now we do have Joe Mixon, so we can be making essentially just a bet on the overall Cincinnati Bengals offense. Yes, we're going to get our first quarterback. Let's go through. Let's show off this team. Drafted at the 102 in a $250 league. Dalvin, Mixon, and then Keenan, Ayuk, Thielen, Galladay, Mike Williams. Then at running back, Damian Harris, Curtis Samuel, Michael Carter, and Joe Burrow. Let me know what y'all are doing. Okay, so we actually had someone out here, Jordan, saying Rojo for him over Michael Carter. If we didn't take Damian Harris, I think we would have gone with Ronald Jones. But a big thing is, I just think that Rojo does have a limited ceiling. He does have a limited ceiling. Just because he's not going to get usage in the receiving game. We know that for sure. It's something I don't know. Evan Ingram going at the 1107. So tight ends are going high in this draft. Tight ends are going really high in this draft. Nelson Aguilar at the 1109. Gerald Everett at the 1110. So maybe we just got boxed out of tight end. Maybe we have no tight ends in this league whatsoever. Okay, so let's pull this over. What is even available? See, I think this is kind of the thesis and why you want to be loading up on receivers, because you're looking at the running backs in this range. I think that Michael Carter pick that I made was honestly atrocious. Here, zone offense only has one running back as well. He only has Antonio Gibson. So Fournette goes off the board, because this running back range where you're getting in round 12, Melvin, Pollard, Edwards, Drake, Jamal, Latavius, zone offense goes with the quarterback. He goes with Tua. He only has one. These $250 drafts, they're over my head. I have no idea what's going on here. These are not with subscribers of the channel. These are with random people in a lobby. And we just have multiple teams with only one running back. Let's check this out. So Andrew here, his team so far is Adams, Harris, McLaurin, Deontay, Odell, Debo, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Rondell Moore, Terrace Marshall, James Conner. And then over here, zone offense has Tyreek, Antonio Gibson, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, Mark Andrews, Boyd, Waddle, Wilson, Jacoby Myers, Marquez Callaway, Gerald Everett, Tua Tagovailoa. So he only has Antonio Gibson. And you had like Kenyon Drake and running backs like Sony Michel, Tony Pollard, Gus Edwards. You had all these guys available in this range. Yeah, this Michael Carter pick was so bad. This was a horrendous selection. Yeah, I am so embarrassed of this Michael Carter pick. This is the worst pick of the draft. We could have gone so many different ways. Yeah, that Michael Carter pick was probably really bad. Okay, let's pull this back up at the 12-11. I'm just thinking here. If we go back-to-back running backs, are we done at running back? Like, are we done at the running back position? We don't have to draft another guy? If we can get 3 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks, 8 receivers, that's what we're probably doing. Probably taking a running back here. It can't be optimal. I think we go Melvin Gordon here. He's going to overlap with Michael Carter, give us production at the beginning of the season. We're going to go Melvin. We're going to go Melvin Gordon. I'm happy we went so heavy receiver earlier on. You know what? I'm actually maybe thinking when we go 5 running backs here, we can be done at running back. We may be done at running back now. We're going to be done at running back now unless we see a ridiculous value. Derek coming out with the donation says, Carter wasn't the worst pick of the draft. A guy taking his a wide receiver 9 with only 1 running back was the worst pick. You good dog. Yeah, you know I'm hypercritical with myself. I think that we want to be looking at things that we can try to improve every time. So I just hate that Carter pick, especially when like we could have instead gone with Melvin Gordon, Kenyon Drake back to back here. And that Michael Carter really didn't do anything for us. So Diamond Brown goes. So we're going to probably... Are we going to reach on a Jonnu Smith? I think we have to reach on a Jonnu Smith here. We kind of have to. We're in the 13th round, but guys, look at tight end after this. Teams really pushed up the tight end position to a point where, I mean, obviously we're not taking Adam Trautman anywhere near this range anymore. So we're going to go with the Jonnu Smith at the 1302 as our first tight end. We need a tight end. We need a tight end. Let me go through, show off this draft board real quick. And this is a $250 draft, guys. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Support the show on Patreon. I mean, you know what to do. Go to the description of the video. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Yeah, let's go through and let's switch this out. And the teams that are getting like, I think if the teams that slammed receiver here, like Andrew, I think if he just stopped 1 round early, like if he just stopped at Terrace Marshall and instead like he went Rojo here, he could have pieced together a really nice, not a nice running back room, but a really nice team with an average running back room. And going Baker Mayfield at the 1304. See, I don't know if these teams in the $250 draft are just better than us and they're completing complex strategies that I don't even understand, or if they have no idea what they're doing. And I'm assuming that if they're just casually walking into a $250 draft, that it's probably option A. It's probably that they're better than us. But some of these, I have no idea what's going on here. I mean, like going with the Baker Mayfield in the 13th round when you can take a Kenyon Drake and you only have 3 running backs on your team and your running back 2 and your running back 3 are James Conner and Jamal Williams. That makes no sense. That makes no sense to me at all. Okay, so Sammy Watkins at the 13-11. Okay, so we're trying to get wide receivers falling back to us. So if we go back and we look at a wide receiver room, I think we have a lot of usable weeks from a lot of players. We have Keenan, Ayuk, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel. So honestly, well, yes, I want to say that we're strong at receiver at the top. We're not that deep either. So we're probably wanting to go through and we're probably wanting to slam some receivers after this. Guys, if y'all think I am bad in these drafts, like I said, I got great news for you. I live stream every single night. We're going to be doing more $250 drafts. So if you want to come get in a $250 league with me, it's very simple. You want to come take my $250. Use promo code FLOCK. Get my rankings. Get $25 added to your account when you make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. We live stream every single night. I'm out here in these streets every single night with real money fantasy drafts. If we could fill a $250 draft every night, I'll do it. I'll do it. And I'll be happy to go up against y'all. So let's get these going. Let's get these going. Okay, so T.Y. Hilton, Tyrell Williams. I would have been happy to see what T.Y. Hilton falling back to us at the end of the 14th. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. Alexander Madison has been falling. Like very rarely are you actually seeing him go in this group of running backs. What is up with the tight end ADP here? I feel like tight ends are going so much higher in these high stakes leagues than they're going in regular drafts. And honestly, we're probably about to see some more tight ends go off the board. Given the fact, I mean, if you look around these teams before us, within these 3 teams, there's a combination of how many tight ends? 2? Yeah, so we're probably about to see some more tight ends go. Actually, I guess not. You get Alexander Madison, Ryan Fitzmagic, and you have Jay-Z. Okay, this team only has 2 running backs, so maybe you see like a Philip Lindsay. So let's go through. KJ Hamler goes. Okay, so we get Cole Kmet here as our tight end 2. I think we kind of have to take Cole Kmet in this range. I know a lot of people are going to want to see me take Rob Gronkowski. Personally, I don't know if we can do that. So let's take Cole Kmet here as our tight end 2 at the 14-11. It's going to be a different bye week as a Jonnu Smith. Probably going to have to take 3 tight ends on this team regardless. It's probably going to be... I would have loved to only have to take 2 QBs, but we may have to take a third. It is 20 rounds in this draft. We're done at running back, honestly. I think that we're done at running back. I think we're done at 5 guys. You have Josh Palmer at the 14-12. J.D. McKissick. So I think right now we're looking at receiver or tight end. Receiver is getting real gross. As is tight end. I mean, everything's gross at this point. Let's just take Brashad Perriman. I know Brashad Perriman has not looked good this preseason, but he's going to be running a lot of routes. We're just going to get Brashad Perriman coming in. We just need, at this point, receivers running routes, getting targets, and can randomly have some spike weeks. So let's get Brashad Perriman. Yes, he's falling a lot further than this in some of those puppy drafts right now. And now we actually have Andrew out here going 3 quarterbacks with Baker, Fitzmagic, Zach Wilson. Okay, so I will say that up until this point, I was willing to give Andrew the benefit of the doubt. I was willing to say that this random guy that we have seen in the $250 league, he probably knew something that I didn't. But at this point, when we're looking at this draft, I do not see how this is an optimal team. I do not see how that's an optimal team. Even if you have a Chase Edmonds injury. I don't know exactly how strong that is. So, yeah, it's hard for me to say that it's going to be a winning roster. Okay, Deshaun Jackson at the 15-10. Okay, yeah, Jackson's someone that I have a very hard time drafting. Very hard time drafting. I don't know if we've really ever taken him, to be honest. I think we've taken him twice actually in the 18th round, but more so it's because a lot of times you see him go in the 15th, and I'm just not considering him here whatsoever. Caden says, download Underdog and use code FLOCK. Yes, sir. Download Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Check the link out in the live chat. Check the link in the comment section of the video. And once we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, which should be easy to do considering you get $25 added to your account with a $10 deposit with that promo code. You get our draft guide, you get our rankings, you get our tiers, you get all of that. Once we hit 10,000, Underdog Fantasy is going to fly people to Tampa, Florida to go to a Bucks game with me. We're going to do that as a giveaway. And at the same time, we're going to do a Florida Flock meetup, a 24-hour live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's get that going. Please, guys, let's get that going. Okay, so Amaro St. Brown goes to the 1605. Maybe we should have taken Amaro St. Brown over him. But like if we look at the quarterback pool right here, guys, look at how many quarterbacks are still available. I mean, Jones is draftable, Derek Carr, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Mac Jones, Teddy Bridgewater. There are a lot of draftable quarterbacks left. That's why I'm not necessarily feeling the need to push the quarterback position. So I think we're probably just going to continue to go receiver here. Andrew, I think, has to kind of take a tight end. He's probably going to go with an Adam Troutman. At least I'd imagine he goes with an Adam Troutman. He literally has no tight ends. And he has 3 running backs. Maybe he goes to James White. Olamide Zaccheaus goes to the 1607. Austin Hooper at the 1608. And so Andrew's first tight end is Adam Troutman or Zach Ertz. Because I mean, another thing is Rucker here has only 1 tight end. So he goes James White. So maybe Rucker decides. So Rucker is just loaded up. Loaded up on receivers. So he goes Quez Watkins. What the hell is going on? Okay, so here I probably just want to go with the Dwayne Eskridge. Actually, no. I guess With the Devin Funchess injury, we're probably going to be bumping up Allen Lazard. Let's bump up Allen Lazard. We're trying to catch up at receiver. I mean, we got guys in this league with like 11 receivers. So, yeah, we're trying to catch up on receiver in the best ball format. This is going to be a 20-round draft instead of an 18-round draft. Y'all see me flailing like a fish right now. Even if that's a saying. Okay, so Jameis Winston goes. Okay, so let's see where Swaney goes. So I wasn't expecting him to really go QB as he already had 2 guys. He goes Darius Slayton. How many wide receivers does this guy have? He's dead at receiver. And we're going to go Daniel Jones as our second QB here. We're getting Daniel Jones, and we're going to be stacking him down there with someone that's named Kenny Golladay. Okay, so Kenny Golladay is going to get that stack, and we're probably going to end up going with another quarterback at the very end of this draft. I think that's going to be something that we can't afford to do considering just the wide receivers that we're going to be looking at in that range. So we're probably going to go with another QB here. I imagine we go with 3 QBs. Alan says, are you doing another draft? My dude, it's almost 1 a.m. with where I'm at. It's almost 1 a.m. Guys, it's almost 1 a.m. Okay, so Adam Troutman at the 1706. Zach Ertz at the 1704. So I think Carson Wentz is intriguing over Daniel Jones. But a big thing we have to remember with Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones can be a really bad real-life NFL quarterback and still be good in fantasy at the same time, just given the fact that he does have that sneaky rushing upside that we can find, which, of course, matters a ton. So I think that's one reason why you actually kind of like Daniel Jones in fantasy is just because he does have that sneaky rushing upside. So to Dwayne Eskridge at the 1708. Yeah, so Dwayne Eskridge was someone that we were going to consider instead of taking in Allen Lazard, but a big thing is the Devin Funchess injury, I think, does change that outlook just slightly. Now, Jared Goff at the 1711. So I would say if we're going to go with another quarterback, we're probably going to go with someone that has yet to be drafted in many of these leagues. Like someone like a Teddy Bridgewater would be a perfect example where his exposure is going to be really low in the large field tournament because nobody was drafting him earlier on. Okay, so Teddy Bridgewater does go with 1802. Can we even get another QB coming in here? Yeah. So there's a guy that we're looking at. There's a guy. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully. We'll see. Okay. So we have Ty Johnson, Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney would definitely have been someone that I really like for this league. Then we have Tony Jones. I'm probably done at running back, to be honest. I think with 5 guys, with how we invested into the position, I think honestly we maybe invested a little too much into the position, considering the Marcus Mariota. Derek, my man, you got to inform me that was a mistake. You can't tell me you intended to go on a Marcus Mariota at the 1807 in a $250 draft. You cannot tell me you cannot tell me you did that on purpose. Derek, I know you're out in the live chat. I know you're out in the live chat right now. Okay, so we're not going to be taking a quarterback here at the 1811, just because Swaney already has 3. He can't take 4. So instead, we're going to be going with a receiver, possibly a tight end. Actually, if we're going to go with the tight end, I think there's someone that we want in the last round. Instead, we just got to continue to bring in receivers to this situation. Can't take a Tyron Johnson. Y'all know who we're going here. We're going with the guy that I had psychology at UT with. Let's get that connection. If anybody's going to win me $100,000, I want it to be our guy, Colin Johnson. Let's bring him in here as our wide receiver 10, I believe. No, our wide receiver 9. Our wide receiver 9. Okay, Donald Parham at the 1812. Johnson at the 1901. So now we are going to be getting our quarterback coming in here in Mac Jones. We're really happy to get Mac Jones coming in. We have a bye week on week 10 that we need covered. Also, this is going to be someone not drafted in every single league. And at the same time, during that large field tournament, maybe Mac Jones does pop off just slightly. So let's get Mac Jones in here as our quarterback 3. Now, I will say that in most leagues, I'm not excited to draft 3 quarterbacks, but when we get the extra draft round here, and keep in mind, this is a best ball league, no waivers throughout the season, I think that getting Mac Jones at the 1902, he should be starting by week 10. Maybe he's okay during the fantasy football playoffs. We'll get him coming in. Then Zach Ertz, Blake Jarwin, Tyler Kroft. Yeah, Andrew's team is dead. I'm so sorry to say it, but Andrew's team is dead. At first, I thought he was galaxy braining it. At first, I was like, okay, God, this guy is a genius. He's going to crush us. He knows something that we don't. Derek says Carr gets hurt late and he is money. I would say that I understand that thought process, my man, especially if nobody owns him. But why not just take him in the 20th? You know what I mean? Like why take him? That's why I'm assuming it was a mistake in the 18th. Like maybe you queued him to make sure that you knew you were going to be able to get him later. I just don't understand taking him then. Okay, so Dome Favors takes Hunter Renfrow. Like, I'm fine taking Mariota going, okay, well, if he does get to start during the playoffs, then nobody else is going to have him. But if you're going to take him, just wait until the last round of the draft. There's no reason to take him before then. Dawson Knox, the 1909. Dawson Knox would have 100% been someone that we were taking with our last round pick. We're probably going to be really... Oh, Malcolm Brown goes to the 1910? Dear Lord, what was the last running back we drafted? Yeah, so I think a mistake that we possibly made is going with like a Damian Harris over a Noah Fant. Like, I'd probably prefer Noah Fant, Malcolm Brown compared to Damian Harris and God knows what tight end we'd be looking at down here. Caden says Deshaun could win you a million. Yeah, my man, I'll say in a lot of best ball manias and stuff, I am drafting Watson in the last round. Here's going to be a little bit different. When I am drafting Watson, I want it to be in a league where I'm literally just planning on him starting the entire year. Like, I'm drafting Watson in a lot of 2 quarterback builds going, well, if he starts then I'm even beating the other Watson teams. And if he doesn't play, then obviously this team is completely dead. No reason in trying to save it. In a $250 draft, my man, it's going to take some balls to go out there and do that. I will say that. It's going to take some balls. Okay, now Xavier Jones goes at the 2004. Now, Tutu Atwell. Love the Tutu Atwell pick. Honestly, I thought that he was going to be our last round selection. Carlos Hyde. Dear Lord, that's value on Carlos Hyde. Yeah, Dome Favors, guys. I know that y'all want to come out here and say shields don't matter, but Dome Favors, every league that we have been in with him, he is crushed. He is a crusher. You can tell that he is probably making a living off doing this. He's crushing. Okay, guys. Do not say that shields don't matter. Maybe some people's shields aren't that good, but I mean, he is very good. Okay. So now after this, let's go through. Okay, Rashad Higgins. Rashad Higgins is actually someone we have been drafting. I think we're actually going to draft Rashad Higgins. He is someone that we could see as the wide receiver 3. I know Donovan Peoples-Jones is the hot guy at the moment, but we have seen Rashad Higgins have that play before, and also is going to be a very low owned guy. So yeah, let's go out there. Yes, it's not the best having this tight end room, but it kind of is what it is. I mean, if we're looking at tight end, what else do we have? F it. We're going OJ Howard. OJ Howard is one of my guys from back in 2017. Let me show you all this draft room real quick. We drafted from the 102. And like I said, guys, okay, I'm sure y'all saw it. We're not going up there and showing it again. It's 1 a.m. I have a lot of draft guys to send out for anybody who use promo code FLOCK. If you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, make sure you shoot me a DM anywhere. Just check the description of the video and go, Mason, listen here, you bum. I use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Go through the link in the description to do so, and you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. All you have to do is send me the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. That way I can send you the draft guide. I can send you the rankings. I can send you the tiers. The $25 to your account is going to get updated automatically. You'll see that right away when you make that $10 deposit. But yeah, also I will send out a free link to our free fantasy football group chat. It's a group chat with 5,000 people in it. You don't need an email. You don't need a credit card. And also, if you don't have social media, this is where you can easily DM me to get that draft guide so I can send it out to you. And yeah, thank you everybody coming out here, my dudes. And that was a wild stream. 4 drafts, 1 a.m. Drop that like, subscribe to the channel, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Support the show on Patreon. We just sent that out, and have a great